Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 14th episode of the Neon Crew podcast. My name is Kyle.
And my name is McClain.
Hey, McClain. How you doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Yep.
Glad we got that done. That was our 14th episode. Thank you guys for listening. If you want, you can head over to the YouTube and subscribe.
No, I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. I got to watch... It's been a lot of movie watching lately, which probably goes well with the pod.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it ties in.
I rewatched Donnie Darko, but I watched the director's cut.
I have not seen that.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
I suggest watching the original theatrical cut.
Really?
I think the director's cut, while it adds some interesting factors into it, because it's a very metaphorical, symbolic movie with a lot of different themes going on.
Sure.
I think it runs the risk of being too packed with information.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like oversaturation of the same type of thing.
Right.
So, I'd recommend the original over the director's. Not that the director's cut is bad. If you like that movie, then getting extra stuff never hurts. It's just the whole cohesive experience benefits from the OG.
So the editing and producer stepping in actually helped the film.
I would say so.
Okay.
But yeah, watched that. Of course, watch these John Wick movies in preparation for our talks today.
Yes.
Which we will get to here shortly.
Whoa. Oh, you know what that means? Additional content coming at you.
That's right. Man, we really need to up the budget for our sound effects. I feel like
whatever that was pretty shitty.
I mean just us relying on our own our own Foley, I guess you could say.
I don't even know how to spell that word.
Yeah, I don't even know how to say it. But before we get into it, I just want to show you Mac in person, and for people potentially listening on YouTube, because I'll probably include a picture.
Yeah.
But my dad, he gave me this silver John Wick coin
at birth.
Close.
Okay.
Around at Christmas time, not last year, but the year before.
Okay.
And which is kind of at birth, because
reincarnated every year.
My birthday is Christmas Eve, so
yeah,
it's you weren't too far off.
No. I
give you points for that.
I was about to say.
But more importantly, I will give you this coin to look over and admire.
I'm going to tell the audience that's listening what it... Oh, my God. There's words in here. Is that a word, or are they just letters?
They're Latin.
Oh.
Because John Wick, they love using Latin in all their films.
Dude. I got yeah.
So that is real silver right there.
Really?
Yes.
Goes well with the curse.
Mm-hmm. And for the audience at home, it's in a little plastic clear case.
It looks like a collector's item.
I believe it is. I think my dad said that he got it at I think he got it at a gun show or something.
Really?
I think so, because he's a man who loves his guns very much, and he goes to many different gun shows. And I think he came across this little bad boy, because gun shows always have different sorts of trinkets there besides guns.
Right.
They'll have little coins or types of knives or whatever.
It's pretty sentimental, man.
Yeah, I love it.
It's pretty awesome.
It's probably my favorite piece of movie, I guess, memorabilia that I have, even though it's not really memorabilia, because it,
Was it in the film?
It wasn't in the film, yeah. But still, it's, it's really cool to have, and it's really cool to show people.
Yeah, and it'll be even cooler when you use it on a bum and he takes you to New York City.
Exactly. See, that's what I was talking about in a previous episode.
Yeah,
exchanging for that business transaction.
Yeah.
I'm going to edit that so I make it sound like I didn't mess up.
Peanut butter in your mouth, it's okay.
Peanut butter falcon in my mouth. Shia LaBeouf. Speaking of yummy goodness, since we're talking about 3 movies, I guess we can just kind of jump into it.
It's going to be, action-packed. I am so curious as to your love for these movies. Because, I know, and it's not...
It's not coming from a place of opposition, is it?
No, it's not. It's more curiosity, honestly.
Even if it was, I'd be okay with it.
Well, I'm saying, from a writing standpoint, it feels so... simplistic. So that's why I'm really curious as to, I'm honestly, like I was watching it with a friend, and we were talking about it, and they, they were kind of asking like, what's Kyle like so much about this? And I was like, you know what? If I had to guess, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I was like, I think he's really big on the choreography and the fighting and the realism with the violence. More so than what you get in a typical action movie of spraying bullets, killing people, guys just falling around. Where this one actually feels and looks like John Wick is in your house about to stab you in the face with a book.
Absolutely.
So that's what my guess was. But then and we're going to talk about it, obviously, but the writing, after when I got into the third one, I was kind of laughing. I was like, I don't, from a writer's standpoint, though, I don't feel like it's something that too convoluted or, there's not much more that the guy's saying besides what's on the screen, which is fantastic. I mean, I equated it to, at least my little take on it, I was like, you're going to like a steak shop. There's not much more behind it, but you're getting a steak and you're getting a porterhouse. It's
a very good analogy.
Yeah, I was just thinking like it's not much more than that, not less, but at least you know what you're getting, and it's going to be delicious.
And that certainly is one of the bigger reasons why I love these movies, is because they are so choreographed very well in terms of being just like an action movie. I mean, you see so many action films where they're edited and shot and spliced together in such a really shitty way.
Yes.
I mean, look at the Taken sequels. And I say the sequels because the first one isn't, the worst. It's entertaining for what it is.
Right.
It's just a Liam Neeson action film. It's the first one that really kind of kicked off his sort of crusade into being an action hero at the age of 65, which Keanu Reeves now isn't too far away from, which is weird to think about. He's like 57.
Is he really?
Uh-huh.
He does. In these things, I was watching him move, and I was like, God, if you're an athlete and you were to watch Keanu in these films and just like his like jogging, he looks like he's lumbering. It's just, he's got this, like his knees are kind of crooked, and it's just, he looks off joint.
Well, and it's in line with his character too, which I think helps a lot. Because he is a retired assassin at the start of the first movie.
Yes.
Like, he's been in the business for years and years and years, doing that same thing over and over again.
So you'd expect his body to be beat up.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes sense with how Keanu Reeves' age actually is and what the character actually calls for. So it fits, luckily. It'd be one thing if they made his character like, oh, I'm a young up-and-coming assassin, even though Keanu Reeves was like 50 when they made the first movie.
It's actually one of the... this film was, I think, 2014. I want to say when the first one came out.
First one was 2014. Second one was 2017. And then the third one was 2019. Yeah.
I mean, it for me, it reinvigorated some of his career, for me at least.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For me as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to say wrote him off, but like, it wasn't like, oh, when's the next Keanu film coming out? And then John Wick dropped, and I was like, God, he's awesome. He looks good in that black suit. He's kicking ass, and he's got some attitude.
Yeah, I was 19 when the first John Wick movie came out in theaters, and I remember I went and saw it in theaters, and I was just very surprised at just how well made it was. For being an action movie and for being that type of movie that I totally expected to be just like this schlocky, turn my brain off, just have some snacks and then forget about it the next day. This movie stuck with me for a long time and is still stuck with me to this day.
Well, we're talking about it now.
Exactly. At my behest.
Yeah.
So certainly the action scenes in these movies and them being so well done and so well choreographed is a big reason why I love them. But another reason too why I really love these films, and there are certain movies in this series that do it a little bit stronger than others, and we'll get to that when we go to the discussions.
I'm curious because I have my own thoughts on it, but I'm curious as to where
is the world building.
100% by the third one. Oh my God, I'm not cutting you off. I don't mean to, but I definitely was like, it's because we were talking about your interest in these things, and I said I also got to think like the universe that they create out of this, and I was like, and the sets that where they're shooting it, and I was like, they took this from being in his house to New York City, and then to Morocco,
Rome.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like all over. I mean, the Sahara. I mean, some sort of desert. I don't know. They must have. They probably wherever.
Wherever Casablanca is.
Well, it's in Morocco, so because I had to look it up because I was like, I want to go to Casablanca, and I was joking. I was like, I don't even know where the hell that's at. I guessed Egypt.
Yeah,
way off.
Makes sense. It's a lot of sand.
Wow, and exactly. Well, the movie Casablanca, World War II. I was trying to figure out where they would be having, where that would have been going at. So that's why I guess Egypt. I guess they did fight in Africa.
Yeah, but yeah, no, the world building is something that I really cherish and admire. It's like from the get go of the first film, like that moment when the cop goes to his house in the first movie and he's like, "Evening, John. Evening, Jimmy. Noise complaint." That in that moment you knew that there was something a little bit bigger going on in the world of John Wick than what you had initially suspected going into the film for the first time. And just that like discovery of like this whole underground world of assassins and how clandestine it is and how they have their own form of like business transactions with the coins and the terms that they use, dinner reservation, catch and release, like all these different terminologies that they use with each other. And they introduce it in a way to where like, they've been using these terms for like years of their lives, just being embedded in this world. And you're just kind of supposed to like catch up with it. They do a little few things here and there to like sprinkle in bits of info as to like what each of those things mean. Well, but they do it in a way that feels natural and doesn't come across as like, okay, they're really like forcing exposition here, No,
100%. I definitely think that they do a great lead up with it. And then the dinner reservation for 12, I think of what it was.
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden they show up and then you see them. So they do a great job of kind of introducing you to what they're talking about. And then the visual aid comes after the fact, And then catch and release in the first one. I'm trying to think. I don't remember what else they use, but those two do definitely stand out.
There was there were a few of them. I forget what else exactly there was, like terms for different items that they use, like the marker in the second one.
And then they seeing you ended up turning out to like, I'm not gonna kill you this time. That's what it. He says it a couple times, and all of a sudden, they definitely took a couple. Like they ran wild the third one, and they had overlapping themes or jargon or however you want to call it that they kind of expounded on as they went forward, which I did appreciate too.
Another one was professional courtesy. Consider this a professional courtesy. In different contexts, but almost the same sort of sentiment. But I should mention before we, I guess, get into these discussions that I wrote my college thesis on these films, specifically 1 and 2, because the third one hadn't come out yet. When I was writing my thesis for my English capstone. So basically, when I was in school graduating, I had my last semester. One of the classes I had was my English language and literature capstone classes, which the project was basically we had to write a at least 25-page paper, double-spaced, about pretty much anything that we wanted as long as it tied back into literature in some way. And I had chose to make the case, I guess you could say, that the John Wick films and John Wick as a character were a modern form of mythology.
Yes.
Because John Wick as a character is a very Old Testament figure. He's got this legend behind him. He's killed like scores of men. I likened him to
Odysseus.
I did include some of Odysseus in the thesis, of course, because it's a big mythological story, but also with Samson from the Old Testament Bible. Because there is a passage in the Old Testament that reads that Samson killed 100,000 men with the jawbone of an ass. And I likened that to when Viggo in the first movie is describing John Wick, how he killed 3 men in a bar with a pencil.
Yes.
And even in the second movie, when Santino D'Antonio is running away from him in like the mirror maze area towards the end of the movie. Spoilers for all these films, by the way. That should be a given. When he's running away from John Wick, he says the line, "You think you're Old Testament?" Like it just resonates with the fact that he very much is kind of like this Old Testament mythological figure in 100%. A way. And there's all these like different like whispers about him in like the assassin community. Like you hear the name John Wick. Characters who have tons of power in those worlds start to have that fear instilled in them. You see them throughout all 3 movies. And they do it in such a way that like you actually believe it. And it helps to see the character use his prowess on screen in the action scenes. So him as a character, of course, and then also like the world itself is just drenched in different forms of mythology that they pulled from like ancient Greece and ancient Rome. There's of course like the Latin phrases that are everywhere, most notably on his back tattoo, which reads Fortis Fortuna Adiuvant, which I think means fortune favors the bold. And when it says fortune, it means the goddess Fortuna. Right. And not just, fortune as a concept, which it could have like a double meaning too. It's been a long time since I've written that paper.
You're good. I don't think anyone's going to challenge you on that.
Might have forgotten a few details here and there.
Well, first they'd have to read it, so that you got that going for you,
right? I wanna find it, just so I can maybe like post it somewhere, where people can find it
on the frickin' pod.
Yeah, if you want to read a college essay, basically.
NFT. Kyle's NFT is his thesis paper.
Jesus Christ!
No. Collector's item, 1 out of 10. Sell them for $15.
That means people can change a few words and then it's theirs, and then they can sell it for even more money.
No, we'll get it all. We'll get it patent published.
Okay, all right. I got you. I get what you're putting down, even though I really don't. So yeah, I it's safe to say that I have a decent affection for these movies, and obviously, I don't think these movies are perfect. I think they definitely have some flaws. Some are weaker in certain aspects than others. Some are stronger in certain aspects than others. But we will get to those. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we kind of like jump into it?
No, I'm really happy that you said the mythological aspect of it, because watching it was, I think by the third one I go, he's not a supernatural force, because he gets the shit kicked out of him. And I was like, you see his weaknesses and defects and he bleeds. I go, but there is something around him that I just don't understand, because he can't be stopped.
Right.
And he's got the presence around him of at like certain death. So there, I don't know what that brings, and it's not just the writing for the character. So I'm glad that you actually said that, because that makes a whole lot more sense to me now. About he's probably like Achilles. There's probably an off button somewhere, but to find it would be insane. It takes so much work to. So I mean, that's just in my head, at least however it goes. However you attribute him to whoever he is. But that makes more sense in terms of kind of separating those two types of forces, if you will, in these films. Like Michael Myers feels like a supernatural force, where you never see anything, you never think he's going to die. John Wick, absolutely. I mean, it's the movie, so you're in your head, you're like, they probably won't kill him off, but there's never the sense that he won't. And they even lead off the first one with the inclination that he might. Yeah. And I think it builds up and it makes it even stronger. And then by the second and third one, you get a little bit more into the craziness. I would say it's like the fish that keeps getting larger. Yeah. That's the story keeps growing, and so anyway, I just wanted to add, I mean, that I'm glad you said that, because it makes a whole lot more sense to me now about kind of my feelings towards Mr. Wick.
Yeah. He's a character that definitely goes through a lot of suffering too. So you're constantly reminded that this dude is mortal, and that he is easily succumbed to pain just like the rest of us. Yes. But it's like his sheer will that keeps him going. Which is a line in the first film.
Yeah, and it by the second and the third one, that had lost me. They do their best to remind you, but John Wick becomes more than what he started out as.
Yeah.
Or the reason why. And they keep trying to bring it back, but it's like I lost that feeling by the second and third one.
Yeah, well, I kind of get what you mean a little bit, and we'll get into it.
Sure.
But
yeah. I'm letting you got this is your world. You're John Wick right now.
I'm Keanu.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I want to be management.
You'll be Winston.
Yeah.
Or who do you want to be, Winston or Lance Reddick?
Who's Lance Reddick?
He's the clerk.
No, I like. They're both good. I like Winston more though, just because of the way he talks.
Winston does have a really good voice.
Oh my God,
they cast him really well. Ian McShane.
Perfect.
So the first John Wick film came out 2014, directed by Chad Stahelski, also co-directed by David Leitch. Not a lot of people know that because he's not listed as a co-director.
Really?
Because normally, in order to be a co-director on a movie with someone else, you either have to be related to them, like the Wachowskis or the Safdie brothers, or you have to be an established duo, like Miller and Lord, or Lord and Miller, I guess how people normally say it.
Okay.
And so he technically is not a director on this film, but he basically is a co-director.
Did they give him like executive producer?
Yeah.
They did?
Yeah,
okay.
he's one of the executive producers, air quotes.
I was about to say that's
basically
usually,
director.
Right.
So David Leitch, if you're unfamiliar with him, he also directed Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde. He directed this upcoming movie called Bullet Train with Brad Pitt and a few other people in it, Aaron Taylor Johnson. The trailer just came out.
I was about to say, I think I've seen the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
It was, yeah.
It's the same stunt production company too, 8711 Productions.
Yeah, as this.
Mm-hmm. Yep, as all these movies too.
I didn't notice that till I was watching the third one. I thought 8711, so such a catchy.
It really is.
Production house.
It catches your eye too, especially nowadays. Now that it's established with good action films, but essentially this first film stars Keanu Reeves and is about a ex-assassin named John Wick who he's retired. He's out of the business. He's out of the game. But his wife gets sick and she dies of an illness that we never find out about really, and so he starts to grieve. He's sad that his wife has died, of course, and but then one day he gets a puppy. Pretty
quick. I mean, it's like
in the mail.
Yeah, I mean, it's like literally like she knew she was on her way out, so she did a quick text while he wasn't in the room.
Yeah, it's a pretty fast scene. I think it's maybe less than 2 minutes.
All of that stuff happens. It's within the first, I'll just say 5 minutes, but dude, they literally get done with the visitation.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in his house. They put her in the ground, and then he's back at the house, and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door.
Yep, he gets a knock on the door, and it turns out that it's a puppy that his wife had left for him to look after and raise because she knew that he would need something or someone to care for.
Unconditional love.
Unconditional love.
He was probably looking for a little of that.
Mm-hmm. And so he has this puppy. He has a run-in with these Russian gangsters who break into his house, and they steal his car, and they kill his dog. And then after that, the whole movie becomes about John Wick going on a bloody path of revenge.
Yeah. Fun.
Mm-hmm. Very fun. So I saw this movie in theaters when it first came out, like I said before.
Right.
Do you remember your kind of first?
I believe I was at, I think I might have been at my brother's. So our friends in Grand Rapids, it was my brother and a couple of his buddies. So they were in duplex. What happens when you share the same house? I wasn't even sharing the same house really, but Grand Rapids houses, they have two houses separated. The garages are kind of what's connected.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of like a duplex.
Yeah, it's pretty close. So you weren't sharing walls, but maybe walls of the garage. Yeah. Anyways, that we were there, and a kid I coached on the football team at Ferris enthralled with this film. Fucking loved it. But I think he was just kind of, if you're listening, I love you. Meathead. So it was about the kills and the deaths and all this, and I was like, well, Keanu's back. I'll take a look. I mean, it sounds like a simple enough premise. The Live, Die, Repeat. same kind of like I was like Tom Cruise in an action film, pass, and then it's like, well, it's kind of simple. I mean, at least it's turn your brain off, watch like you said, and we threw it on, and I was like, boy, that was really fucking fun.
Yeah,
like it's easy, nice to follow, it's refreshing. It's definitely not action films that you typically see. You know, even with, I mean, there's a lot of one take shots. I can't even. I'm drawing a blank on the word, but you know, probably there's a good 20-30 second scenes here and there of him taking down like 3-4 dudes, popping guys in the head. You know, and I thought it was fun to watch. I mean, really fun.
It definitely is, and it came out to the same year that Taken 3 had come out.
Jesus!
And by that point, I think people were just really tired of the way that action films were edited, like the quick cuts and the shaky cam, where you can clearly tell that Liam Neeson wasn't really doing anything too strenuous to perform those action scenes. They just tried to make it so that they could hide all the imperfections, so they just force an epilepsy upon the audience that goes and sees it. Whereas this movie, I remember thinking to myself, even then when I was 19 years old, man, this is refreshing.
Oh, yeah.
This is so good to actually be able to tell what is happening. You can see people getting shot in the head and taken down judo style by Keanu Reeves.
Dude,
and you can see that it is Keanu Reeves doing all the stunts.
Oh, yeah. You can't. There might have been a couple times where you could, and I don't, the first one, I don't know, maybe the second and third one where you can kind of hide it with the lighting. Mm-hmm. But, like, and that's not to take it away, because absolutely, the red circle scene in the first one.
Oh, best scene in the movie.
Oh my god!
By far. And what's funny too is, so I didn't do this for this time. I had done it before, but I listened to the commentary on this film and the second one. I don't think there's one for the third, but I guess during that red circle club scene, Keanu Reeves had a fever the entire time.
Oh really?
Yeah, he was like really sick, but he like still showed up and was like, I'm gonna perform the scenes, guys. And you know, you can just picture him like really going for it, even though he probably felt like absolute shit during the entire thing.
Doesn't show at all.
It does,
the best. I think for me it really gets turned on when after he kills the guy, you know, in the puddle of water, which is just fantastic. So there are some creative kills too, which you gotta appreciate in a movie that doesn't take like a whole lot of shots. Like Taken, like there could be some creative kills, but then you're like, all right, they edited the shit out of that.
Yeah, there's like 14 different camera angles going on at once. Jesus.
Like they would be doing like they show the guy's face and then pan up, show the guy's face, pan up, show the guy's face, pan up, and then I like do a swivel and then like shoot in to show the guy's face. If it was a Taken movie with Keanu, but this one was just so subtle. He grabs it, kind of leans the guy into the water. He's trying to spit it out, and he just keeps his forearm there.
He says like "fuck you" or like whatever.
And you see it the whole time, and there's really no music going, so the heightened sense of what's going on, and kind of and this is a pretty gruesome death. Like if you think about that, to be outmanned like that as an individual and to die within 3 inches of water,
basically naked in a bathrobe, and getting choked out by this dude in a suit in a locker room.
How intimate it is. You know, it's not like he walked in there and popped him in the face or shot him in the chest. I mean, like it's hand-to-hand combat, and you couldn't get 2 inches of water. Like imagine you dying, like you fell down, had a stroke, and because you couldn't lift your head, you just suffocated in a pool of water, like in a rain pot. Like it's so shitty to go out like that. But at the same token, like they did such a great job with that scene of just holding it there and letting it just sit. And I was like, God, like
I really like that scene. And I think my personal favorite kill in this movie is the one that comes like right after it, when he's sneaking around the bathhouse and the guys in the security room, they're like, level 3, check. And then like you see the guy with like the silhouette with the blood splurt. And then the next one after that, when he like takes the bald guy and like shoves him against that like brick wall and just like stabs him in the throat, and he slowly like pushes him down against the wall and he's staring into his eyes as he's dying. I was like, fuck, that is cold. That is brutal.
You could feel the rage that he has in this thing. But it's also funny too, because he's kind of compassionate.
A little, well,
I don't want to call him benevolent, but like, I mean, not like that, but like, think about it. Kevin Kevin Nash, he's a WWE fighter, was outside the club. Easily could have, and just because he knew him,
Francis.
Yeah.
Why don't you take the night off?
And the big ass gulp that he has.
Yeah,
He knows he's been like.
He knows he's scared shitless because John Wick's pointing a gun at him.
Yeah.
Understandably so. But I love the fact too that in that specific scene, it goes from this sort of like stealth kind of like Keanu Reeves hasn't been like made out yet, like he hasn't been found out
right
through like the security cams or like by anyone seeing him until he's like staring at Eosif. What's the actor's name? Theon Greyjoy from Game of Thrones. That kid.
Sure.
I forget the actor's name.
That's not his name.
Alfie Allen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When he's staring down Alfie Allen, because Alfie Allen's the one who killed his dog or whatever, and he's like kind of drenched in that moment and like a little distracted. When like that moment happens, this guy like sees him and he's like, oh, and they like have that struggle and they burst through the shelving and break it, and then all of a sudden everybody knows that he's there. So John Wick has to go into John Wick mode, basically, like quickly shoot everybody in the head as fast as he can and try to get to this kid in time,
Oh yeah.
And the club scene in the whole film is just so well done, well shot.
My God,
best action scene in the movie for sure.
Probably close to all three of them.
Yeah, I would say there's another one that might be slightly better for me. We'll get to that later.
Yep. Because they're all pretty fresh for me. I did a John Wick marathon over 2 or 3 days before this, so like And
I've seen the movies enough times, especially the first one, to like know them pretty well.
This is your Big Lebowski.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Just a little
pretty close.
A little less laissez in the way the characters are.
You get like two guys that probably represent the same thing, just on different sides of the spectrum. Both mythological.
Long-haired, bearded dudes.
Yeah, dudes.
Keanu Reeves has said dude a lot in his early filmography. I don't think he says it once in these films.
No, he seems pretty well put together.
Yeah. Club scene's great. So I really love the way it's shot, obviously. I love the secretive world that they build up and the character of Winston and what he represents.
A very small blip that I don't know if the director had it in mind, but to take that and expand on it, I think it takes a lot to recognize the world that you could create and then do it.
So these movies, that's a good thing you brought that up, because I did want to bring this up at some point. All three of these films were written by Derek Kolstad.
Okay. But
it is important to mention, too, that Chad Stahelski, who has directed all three films, he was Keanu Reeves' stunt double on the Matrix films, the original Matrix films. And they've had this friendship for a long time since then, of course. They've had this like connection and stuff, and, they hang out all the time. And they were just basically waiting for the right script to come along for them to be able to work together on a film. And then the script of John Wick came, and they were like, all right, let's just latch onto this, and we'll make this into something great. We'll make this like, and he says it in the, I think, either an interview that he did or the commentary itself in the first film. But he says that the original goal was to just make an artful action film, as artful and as actiony as you could possibly get.
I think they did it.
And I think that especially this first one too, I think it hits the nail on the head. There's so many different stylistic choices that go on that just work in like these different types of scenes. You've got the club scene, and then you've got the scene outside the church where he's shooting people with like a rifle.
Yeah.
And you've got, of course, like the beginning house scene where everything's dark and there's still like this element of stealth going on, and you don't really quite know what the world is about yet.
I mean, it's funny too, because you say that. Well, I don't want to. Yeah, go.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, you say that you really don't know who John Wick is.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first saw it, I had a oh shit moment. Mm-hmm. Like you're like, all right, dude, you don't know how well the choreography is gonna be, and you don't know that they're gonna do all these freaking tracking shots, and that it's gonna be just mayhem, and you're just gonna watch it unfold.
Yeah.
So like, it's funny because they have this like almost satirical buildup with John Wick. Remember, he's like pounding the concrete, and he's like, I left this world, and you're watching him, he's like, and it's raining out, and you're like, all right, guys, like, where are we going with this? It
like, could have been easily way too cheesy.
Exactly, and I think some of it's for farce, and I think they had like a certain comedic element behind it, where they knew, like you said, he's a mythological like person in these films, like, and you're living in modern day New York, like, let's have some fun with it, just a little bit. Let's build it up to like, he is gonna be, Samson. Like, let's show it and kind of give it that like feeling behind it, So he's doing the concrete, and you're watching it, and he's got like in the shower, and he's got the fucking tattoo on his back, and you're like, I don't speak French, man. Like, what the fuck? And so, and you're watching it, and then all of a sudden it's like these guys are in the house, and then doom doom boom 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 doom boom doom. I mean, and there's no point. You're like, fuck, man. Like, he should have gotten killed, this and that. I mean, it happens quick, and probably how it would if it was real life.
Well, yeah, and it helps too, because like we were talking about, those scenes could have easily been cheesy if those action scenes didn't live up to what was building up.
Yes.
Like, those scenes wouldn't have been justified if the action was like that in the Taken sequels or in fucking the Matrix Resurrections.
Dude, you could have had him fighting 6 guys at one point in this thing, and did like your action, like your cuts, your quick cuts, your kind of different camera angles, and agreed. That would have been like, what the fuck? I mean, he gets done with this. Those guys show up, and he takes out 3 dudes in 6 seconds. And it's just like a judo chop, shot, stab, shot.
Yeah.
And then it's on to the next tier of guys.
Yeah. I really love the, because there is too, in the fight choreography, like a clear fighting style.
Yes.
Like they do a lot of judo and a lot of like, almost the like these grappling maneuvers.
Yes.
And they incorporate gunplay into it.
Yes.
And that's what they've basically been doing and like practicing for like all these films.
It's remarkable. I mean, I was saying, like, could you imagine? All right, we're going to do this one shot. You got all the extras in there. Keanu, here we go. All right, we're going to let the camera roll. Hit your marks. You got 30 seconds. Let it loose. 4 guys. Remember, 2 here, 2. I mean, for them to fucking execute that is like insane. I was talking about it yesterday, just watching the third one, because I and we'll get there, but like, I'm like, my God. I mean, it takes so long to execute that and to do it, and because in Taken, you just, all right, we're going to let the camera roll. We got this one go, and we'll splice it. Here we go. Boom. Out you go. You get one mark wrong, like, all right, hold on. Like, run it back, and maybe there's some sort of splicing going on. They could have had some choppy cuts that we didn't see. So, I mean, but props to them if they did, because we don't really notice it.
Right.
But like, yeah. Just fucking the amount of the craftsmanship that goes into it.
Absolutely.
And just that stance alone, not even with the stylization and the visuals of it. I mean, yeah. So
we've talked a lot about like the action itself.
Right.
What do you think of like the overall story?
So for
the
first one, I liked it. I'm glad that you said it does gives a little bit of a mythology, like almost like a fairy tale, not a fairy tale, but like a legend.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where, because I was saying, I'm like, like I said, I'm learning more about films, even though I've been watching them for fucking ever. I'm not gonna make fun of myself. The mythological tale of John Wick. I mean, and it to not have that supernatural force, but you kind of see like this would be a tale of his. Like when his life's over, and from the first one, that would be a story about how he got back into it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And then it turns into the house, and he killed 100 men, and and then he found the underworld, and he took out the mafia instead of just the one guy. But like, it resonates a little bit more. Not having a better idea of how to view him as a character. Even if it was just a real person in real life, it would hold up. It just feels kind of,
it's a little fantastical.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I think the mythological aspect helps to it.
Yeah, absolutely. The secretness or the secretiveness of it really carries that fantastical element and makes it believable. Like you can suspend your disbelief a little bit more.
Well, and that, I mean, and then they ate it. You know, I mean, it doesn't. You could have it where it's like Taken, and you have all those. I mean, and you're just watching them take out 12 dudes, and it's like.
Did you watch him take out 12 dudes though, or did you really watch him jump a fence in 14 cuts in 7 seconds? Look it up.
There's just sometimes it just cram shit in for no reason to add juice.
Yeah, we're gonna shit talk the Taken sequels a lot in this.
Well,
in this
I haven't
episode.
seen it in forever, so I don't even think I saw Taken 3. Taken 2, actually, it's funny because one of my buddies, not to get on a tangent here, but like you talk about my memories. Taken 2 came out. I didn't want to watch it because I was like, or it was Taken 3. One of the two. Who the fuck knows? And I was like,
they all kind of blend together.
Yeah, I was like,
point.
the first one was good, but I know how these sequels go. They always take it and then they inject it with steroids and amphetamines, and it's always crap. The story holds the same. It's just a different venue.
They always take it.
Whoa.
Taken.
Your words, not mine.
Yep, definitely mine. Because
in case Liam's listening, shout out LIM.
Yeah,
LIM. But my buddy had a girlfriend at the time. He's like, hey man, like we're gonna do like a little bit of this girl's coming over, her friend's coming over. Why don't you guys hang out? We'll hang out. And I was like, oh cool, like all right. And I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go. And she came down. And she was like, oh, so blah blah. And I was like, okay, like we're not gonna have like a civilized conversation at all, you know. And then she started ripping shots, and I was like, great. So then she got drunk in 10 minutes because she took like 4 shots, and I'm like, what are we like? I'm babysitting now? Like, what the fuck is this? And then she's like, I want to watch a movie, and I was like, pick it out. And she just walked up and she's like, what about this one? And I was like, no, like please. And she just was like, no, I'm kind of. And I was like, so I got forced to watch that shit, and I didn't even watch it. I just sat there. I was kind of like poking fun at her a little bit, you know.
You were a little bit pissed at the situation.
Well, it's like I just remember my buddy like thinking in my head, like, were you trying to help me out or give me the fucking babysit? Like, you knew the story on this person, I didn't. Well, no. To end the night after she did like half a fifth, she went, threw up, and then shit with the door open. It was like the worst. Like, I'm like, what am I listening to? And she was like farting up the steps, and then she was getting like turned on. So she was kind of doing like the googly eyes at me, and it was like, oh, you look good. And then like I could just hear her go in the bathroom because we didn't have a door on it, so you never took a dump in the downstairs bathroom because you didn't have the door. Right. Oh, it just heard her going, and I just was like, this is like, so it was. It was an awful night. It was one that I don't remember this poor gal's name, but I remember how embarrassed and pissed off I was, and then by the end of the night, how disgusted I was. I didn't think it could get worse in terms of emotions, but to go from being mad to grossed out is a really big swivel. I don't think a lot of people ever encounter. So
what I really like about John Wick's story.
Yeah, sorry. I had to get that off my chest because I have flooding memories of this night. It was awful.
Well, I'm glad that you could release that tension, and I'm here for you. And I really am.
That's my story of why I don't remember the Taken movies, and actually I probably haven't watched any since then.
You know, that's a decent reason why you wouldn't remember those. You were preoccupied.
No, don't.
Babysitting.
I was not anything. I was upset because I had a person now just in my bubble. It went from like massaging my bubble to just in my bubble, and then that's when. And you can't kick her out. Like, what do you do? See you later.
Yeah.
So we don't have to go on.
I don't know.
I'm telling you, it's awful. It's the worst. It's the invisible hand that sits on your arm. And my buddy, it's the same fucker that I just called a meathead. You are a meathead. And you're a POS for doing that to me. He's probably not listening.
Jesus Christ.
Love you guys.
Love you guys. You guys are the backbone of our operation. So bring it back to John Wick. So the world building in the first movie, you know, something I praise and cherish and love.
I think they did
the actual story. There are some strong points and there are some weak points for me, especially after having rewatched this movie a bunch of times.
Right.
I definitely think the last act of the film is the weakest.
100%.
I think that as soon as Michael Nyquist's character, Vigo, as soon as he finds Willem Dafoe, which, by the way, Willem Dafoe's in this movie, which I almost always forget until I rewatch this.
On Harold role.
I know. He's he's great in everything. I love the man.
Shout out Willem Dafoe.
Shout out if you're listening. By that point is when the film, like, I don't want to say goes downhill, but it definitely takes a step down in terms of the overall quality of the story.
I would say, because I'm with you, but mine starts a little sooner.
Okay.
Mine turned into, maybe it did have to go this route, maybe it didn't, but when he got captured, you see,
Okay.
And that scene and that, like, I wanted to ask you, is it Deus Ex Machina?
When Willem Dafoe shoots the guy through, like, the
no apparent reason
through the stained glass window.
I mean, you kind of figure he's a guardian angel in all this, because I mean, maybe that adds to the mythological sense that these people that go on these journeys have.
I will say that I like that. Excuse me. I like that scene.
Right.
Because to me, it embodies the fact that John Wick does have these weaknesses and he is a mortal character. Like, if Willem Dafoe wasn't there, he would be dead. Like, there was no real way for him to, like, really get out of that situation without Willem Dafoe's character being there.
Right.
So it acknowledges the fact that John Wick, even though he is this imposing figure and he does do a lot of what the stories around him have been built up,
right?
He has a lot of help along the way. That's exemplified in not only this movie, but in the movies to come after it, too.
Yeah, and that's where, I guess...
So to me, that scene was like kind of the start of that whole acknowledging that, okay, John Wick is great, but he's not invincible. And he needs help along the way if he's going to get through whatever obstacle he needs to get through. And so I kind of like that scene for that. And also, I'm kind of a sucker for that cheesy, like, monologue that he has when he's threatening Vigo.
Dude, I love that. That's the best. Every time I see it, I get goosebumps, because I was like, dude, you see his emotions. Like, Keanu does such a great job. He plays such a bland guy this whole time. Mm-hmm. Just no empathy whatsoever, or sympathy, or whatever, apathy. Just fucking, I'm doing what I got to do. And then all of a sudden, you get to see, like, what everything meant to him. Like, how this build up. Maybe he saw it in the car scene. Product placement.
No, I love that scene personally. But it's close. It's close to where, like, we sort of acknowledge where, like, the movie starts to, like, okay.
I had different, I guess, the viewpoint I had with him, because with the stories that you hear about him, maybe I guess he does have that help, but it doesn't feel like he's a one-man band. Mm-hmm. So you probably wouldn't hear that someone saved his life from all these other stories of killing people with the pencil, and when you wanted to kill the boogeyman, you'd hire John Wick. But it doesn't, because of that area, that sense of him, is why that didn't feel. But I'm with you, though. That's when you bring it down a notch. He isn't this person. Mm-hmm. He is a human being. He is immortal. So not immortal, amortal, mere mortal.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, too, like, as story goes, but, like, also, like, some of the sound editing was weird. Like, I have a hard time every time when Vigo is interrogating or basically torturing Willem Dafoe's character, and they play that Marilyn Manson song that they play at the beginning, which the first time they play it, they're like, okay, I guess it, like, kind of fits thematically with what's going on. But then they play it again, and I'm like, all right, I'm a little sick of this song. And so then
killing strangers.
Yeah, we're killing strangers. And so then they're playing that song while he's punching Willem Dafoe in the face and stabbing him in the leg. And the sound mixing is not great. Like,
it's a bizarre scene.
The music is so loud compared to how quiet the characters are speaking to each other. Like, Vigo is talking to Willem Dafoe, and he's like, "It's because of you, my son died." And meanwhile, Marilyn Manson's going, "We're killing strangers!" Like, over the whole thing. And it's jarring, to say the least. And that, and then, of course, like, the scene with the cars by the helicopter pads when Keanu Reeves is, like, basically, like, car bullying these guys when they're trying to escape.
It was kind of fun.
It was fun.
I did like that. I had a little bit of fun. It's not great.
It was fun, but like it as a third act last action scene, it kind of felt a little underwhelming. Like the club scene in the movie is so good and so well done that that last car scene just sort of pales in comparison.
I think if I had, just think about it now, actually, though. If they were really in cars, which I'm guessing they probably were, and beating the shit out of those cars and getting guys to marks, like they thought that would be a lot cooler in terms of now they're taking another prop and adding it. So, now it's not just guns, but we're going back and forth. Maybe. I'm with you, though.
Yeah.
The third act fell short.
And, like, listening to the commentary, too, you can even tell that Chad Stahelski was like, yeah, knife fight in the rain. We felt like we had to end it somehow, so we just kind of chose that. So you get the sense that, like, all right, maybe they were, like, pressed for time or, like, they didn't really know how to end it, so they just kind of went with, like, the whole, like, cliche knife fight in the rain with, like, the last big baddie, Just
was he even, though? Like, Vigo?
Vigo at that point just felt like... And that's, like, one of the things that I really kind of like about that scene was, like, that he's kind of accepted the fact that John Wick is going to kill him.
Yeah.
And so, like, he's just goofing almost the entire time, like, with Dean Winters. Like, Dean Winters is asking for, like, a gun the whole time. And Vigo's like, whoa, can you get it? Can you catch it for me in time? Like, he's just playing with him.
Oh, yeah, he knows it's over.
Because he knows it's over.
Yeah.
And so that part I liked. But I think that is really, like, the most, like, standout part that I enjoyed in that third act. Otherwise, it kind of just felt a little, I don't know, underwhelming compared to what came before.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, 100%. And it's tough to do. Even the church scene, as well done as it is, I don't know. The introduction of John Wick and then to the Red Circle, like, it's just
it's so cohesive.
Think about it too. Okay, so you get the introduction of John Wick because you don't know what to expect. You just paid fucking $31.78, and you're watching this on the big screen. And you're like, where are they going with this thing, right? And then all of a sudden he shit kicks everyone, and you're just like, you just sat there and you're like, and then they have a little levity immediately afterwards, which adds to the freaking cheeseburger now. So now you're like, oh my God, it's funny, and they know what they're doing, and this guy's a badass, right?
Yeah.
And then you get into the Red Circle, right? And then the Red Circle fucking music's thumping, the visuals, the colors, it's all eye candy, and
the music.
They're fucking, like, he's destroying everyone, and it's still even on a grander scale now.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, where do you go from there? You know, and they hit it with the church, and it's just like, you just hit us with these two awesome things, and now we gotta go back into it's a story again. Like, you even forget that you're even watching a movie.
Well, the church to me isn't as bad because
I
feel like it was leading up to something that was coming after that would be like, oh, that's really great. And you kind of get that a little bit when he kills Yosef, the guy that kills his puppy.
Even then,
like, you get that a little bit, and I really like the music that accompanies it when he, like, shoots him in the head and he's, like, walking away in slow motion and the screen blurs and the song is just like, it's like this rock song with, like, these female vocals in the background, and it's like starts slowing down and it gets like all like, I don't know. I really enjoy that scene, and I think the church scene before it is like a good build up to me anyway.
Yeah, I'm not describing. I think they're all fantastic. Like I said, we're both in agreement. I think even for me, it probably that escalation. Actually, the only thing I think I may like the car scene a little bit more than I would have liked when he killed. Was it Yusuf?
Yeah.
Just kind of leading up to that, but like those three scenes all hand in hand to me are like I said, you got a 10 and then you got a 9.2. Like, you don't watch it and you're like, that just sucked compared to the rest of the film. Like, it fits in. It's just there's not as much, you're not as stimulated because it really holds the merits of now it's just the fighting of the choreography of what John Wick's doing. If you think about it, like the church, it's bland. He goes in there, he gets some guns, and he does kind of some of the same stuff that he was doing, right?
Yeah.
You got a newer gun, so kind of cooler kill, but like they go outside and it's just fucking like New York City and, it's 60 degrees in a fall day. Like, sweet. I just came out of the Red Circle.
Yeah.
I just got music thumping. There's fucking neon lights going everywhere, and then here I am out on Fifth Street.
This really gray church in this really gray street.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then you get into the next one, and he's kind of, he just escaped death, and now he's pissed. And then, I think the coolest thing they did, they had the cars explode, but and I had a problem with that scene.
Oh, yeah.
Scene logistics. I am going to call scene logistics on that one. How does he get bombs on all 3 of those cars in a surrounded compound when he's out sniping everyone trying to get into the compound?
Yeah. Yeah. The way this whole scene was like edited and shot, it made me think like, okay, they're like skipping points in time to like get to the meat and potatoes of the situation. And so I just kind of suspend my disbelief at that point where I'm like, okay.
Listen, man.
He must have like gone in, put the bombs there, and then like maybe waited for like Iosif to like, I don't know. But yeah, scene logistics, you are right. It is like kind of like makes you think like, okay,
but
this whole scene is like different in comparison to the other action scenes because it's so point jumping in time.
And how did it yes. And how did he get in there? And it doesn't make sense with where he's coming from unless he snuck in and then snuck back out to infiltrate again.
Right.
So, but if you're at that point in the film and you haven't suspended your disbelief yet, then
it's not going to work.
Yeah, I'll just say that.
So we should probably move on to the second movie.
You got to be the timekeeper on this. Okay.
I'm the TikTok man.
Yeah.
Which is a character in the third one. So what would you rate this first John Wick film?
First John Wick for me, I believe I have it as a 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because that's what I have it as. 9 out of 10.
Really?
Yep.
Dude, you're 10. I wonder what your 10s are. Probably like 2 films.
There's a handful. There's a good handful. We'll get to them. It's probably more than you think.
Okay. For me, 9 out of 10 on this. You're 9 out of 10.
I would say I'm a 9 out of 10.
I think in my head it even might have went up one. I don't know if I have 8 or 9 out of 10, but with having you have said that, now in my head being able to think about it as we go forward, it really aids that. And the music, the visuals, choreography in this simplistic story, but one that you said it's like a urban like a legend, like a tale, like however you want to view it.
Yeah.
And they took it from the Old Testament and put it on the screen, and they did a great job.
It's like I said before, it's like a great like Old Testament sentiment, a good like mythological character. You like how I did that wordplay there?
Yeah.
Old Testament sentiment.
Yeah. That's going on a shirt. That's the 4th one.
There it is. New merch. TBA. I keep saying that. It's gonna happen one day. So, I guess we can move on to
cool.
John Wick Chapter 2. Do you want to give the synopsis of this one since I gave it for the first one?
Yeah, and you'll probably want to do the third one too. Even though I guess both of them are I watched the third one last night, but I was kind of a little in and out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so John Wick Chapter 2, we immediately picked up where we left off at in John Wick 1. He gets a dog, and then I don't exactly remember. He's in a car getting chased or chasing guys because all of it.
He goes and he gets his old car back.
He does, but it leads off with like guys in a car, and he's chasing down the Russians because he found out he was tipped where the car was.
So he chases the guy on the motorcycle,
right?
And then he like crashes into him. Basically, like I think the guy, I don't know if he dies or he just like gets knocked out, but then he gets out of the car, goes to the biker guy's jacket and pulls out this like secret card, which you find out later is like how he gets into the Russians' garage.
Yeah, I was about to say it only plays into this little exposition scene. I think it picked up where it left off. If not, it's really close to recent events.
I think according to the director's commentary, I don't mean to like keep.
No, you're good because I'm curious about it. Because I like you said, you watched the first one and then immediately watched the second one. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how I was. So like it was interesting to be like, oh man, this. Yeah.
So according to the director's commentary, I guess this is supposed to take place like a week after the first movie.
Okay. Because I don't think he had the dog with him doing all these things, but you definitely get the sense there. He's like, I'm back. I want to get back out.
Yeah.
And all of the dialogue, they really picked pick up or give you all the nuggets of what you missed in the first one.
Yeah, it's a good like reinforcement of him as a character in the situation he was in the first movie.
And you let everyone know who John Wick is, and you get all the stuff that the first one did. They shovel out in the first 5 minutes of this of who he is and why you're afraid of him.
Yeah. So anyway, continue.
So that's he takes care of business, and he gets back and he goes to the Continental, and he goes back home, and someone shows up, and they found out there's this new introduction of some of the world that we're living in called. Was it the Mark, right? The Marker?
The Marker, yep.
The Marker. And you find out that the night that he got out, someone helped him get out, which is still, it kind of plays a little bit into the Defoe aspect of it, because now that I'm thinking about it, that was one problem that I had with that one. I was like, if he's so fucking great, why'd this guy need to help him? And now he owes him his life, but it does play into some of that. So you find out he's got to help this guy out, and he's got to go take someone out. And we get to see more of the Continental universe. We get to see more of the belly, the underground, the belly of the underground.
Yep.
Right?
The underbelly.
Whoa. Talk about frisky.
Hoo-hoo.
Yeah. And we get to go to Rome. And then from there, it kind of turns into one, not mistake, just plan after plan after plan. And John Wick now finds himself, which was fun, instead of having to take on just one gang, he's got to take on New York City.
Yep.
And and that's where it goes from there. So you get to see more of the myth that is John Wick.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so hyped for this movie. I remember when it was coming out, because a lot of the enjoyment that I got from the first movie was showing people that had never seen it for the first time.
100% movie that goes underrated.
Yeah.
That's an easy one to be like, John Wick, guy's name on a fucking action film, like seeing this,
But I was so excited for the second one, and then I watched it in theaters, and I watched it in theaters I think like 4 times.
Really?
Because I kept telling people, hey, let's go see this movie, because I wanted them to see it, and like I wanted them to react to the things that were happening in the movie.
Sort of like your Catcher in the Rye, huh?
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you feel the same way about this movie that I do. And it gets into a progression of sorts with this movie, and then again in the third movie. I feel like the kills in this movie get more creative and brutal, and I love it for it. Okay. Like there's so much more creativity when it comes to the kills in this movie. And not to say that the ones in the first movie aren't creative or aren't interesting, but they really do a good job of really upping the ante of showing like just how skilled John Wick is as a character. Yes. and where they can go in terms of making a new and fresh action scene in the same franchise.
100%.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like from what your body language is telling me now that you feel the same way.
My friend that I was hanging out with last night, we watched it, and like I said, we were kind of guessing. And I said from the very beginning of the third one, but in this one too, I said the kills. I feel like Kyle really likes these things because it evolves along with John Wick. Mm-hmm. The kills that we get to see, we actually get to see newer, fresher, creative ideas, from John Wick with the materials that he has to get the job done. Mm-hmm. And they still nail the choreography and the action sequences, and it's not like they have to tailor our perspective as an audience member to what he's capable of doing as an actor, that being Keanu and not the character of John Wick. So, you get, it feels like he's doing these things.
Absolutely.
And they do it, and they kind of up the ante. You know?
And a lot of my favorite parts of this movie are the ones where it feels like he has to improvise in order to get those kills and to get through the situations that he's in. Like the pencil scene. Which they reference that he, did that sort of thing, before to like kind of build up his character. And then you actually see him do that sort of thing. And it's like, all right, how are they going to, because in the scene, you see the pencils like clearly focused on the table. Yeah. So you know that he's going to use them because you remember the reference in the first movie. And so you're thinking to yourself, how are they going to make this look good and look cool and not goofy as shit to the point where I can't believe it anymore. And they make it so brutal and so like just situational. Yeah. And it almost feels, and obviously everything's choreographed, but it almost feels improvised, the way that the character of John Wick has to, like, he finds the pencils and he freaking stabs him in the nose and he like puts it against the wall and he shoves his like neck into it. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's just kind of fun. Like, how could you apply force to this and kill someone with it?
Yeah,
you know, like,
exactly.
And to be able to do it where you're watching it and you're doing the math as quickly as you can as he's going through doing it, and it's believable to the sense of, yeah, that would happen, you know.
Definitely.
I'm trying to what other fun kills that they had? Well,
so there was the pencil one, obviously. I really, and this is more of like to do with the environment than it does like the kills themselves, but I really like the final like mirror room.
100.
Like, I think that as like a last set for an action scene in a movie in like the third act is really good. I find myself like going back to YouTube and like just rewatching those specific scenes over and over again because I think they're so well done and so impressive.
It's fun too because if you think about the character that he's kind of targeting, that guy would need some sort of help in his environment to escape. And that, what better than, you know, a freaking clown show?
Yeah, a fun house basically.
Exactly.
Just full of like these reflections you get easily confused and lost in.
Yeah.
Which John Wick, of course, like almost effortlessly navigates and just brutally makes his way through. There's a few moments where it's like, oh, what the fuck is happening here? But
I mean, as an audience member, I was trying to think though. I'm trying to think because I like watching it. I was like, all right, I can't tell what the fuck's going on. But then I was thinking like maybe in there you have a little bit better perspective. I mean, and it's not a fun house where they're doing it intentionally to distort you. You know, obviously this is artsy, so there may be the angles or wherever he's looking at, he has some visual clues as he's kind of going navigating the walls or moving around where he'd be able to sense where he's at.
Yeah,
but he does, I mean, like you said, effortlessly, because there are some times where he's like, you know, he's not moving in the streets of New York where you're watching him move and it's like he's like a fucking cheetah on a hunt. You know, like there's a little bit more thought process with him going through this.
So what was your favorite scene in this movie?
So, and I hate to, I never try to put my own stuff out here. So I saw this film, same at my brother's place. It was the same place, right? When it came out later, we all decided we were going to watch it. And, you know, I kind of forgot some of John Wick 1, so not all of it was sticking with me, and I think I might have had something else going on where I was like paying attention here and there and not giving it probably the credit that it was due. There's a scene in the catacombs where he lays out some guns and he knows he's going to be on the way back.
Yeah.
And that is one of my, I really like that scene, but only because it was the first time I actually was like, I thought about the perspective of a henchman.
Yeah.
And being thrust into this role of having to kill this mythological force and knowing it with almost certainty that you're going to die.
Yep.
And it was kind of like if we, like, let's say we didn't take a cog in the machine and throw it at John Wick, but actually someone that had some realization to what's happening around them. And we were watching it and I just started dying laughing, and you know, my buddies, my brother, like, what the fuck's so funny? And I was telling him, I was like, could you imagine, like, you're making $15 an hour and they're like, go get him. And you're hearing the screams and the gunshots and like just knowing that it's almost certain death. Like, not enough money in the world for me to go in there and just to think about like looking around, like, where's he at now? And then you have 3 seconds before you either get a gun to the head or he's fucking like kicking out your knee and then putting a pencil down your ear. Like, so that was, I think that was like for me the most fun scene. And but the ending, I thought they actually nailed the third act this time.
Yes, I agree 100%. I think the way the movie is structured, is significantly better, I think, than the first one, because it does feel like a progression of difficulty for the character of John Wick, which I feel like is how a lot of action movies should be. You know, you raise the stakes almost every single time.
With that sense of what you've already laid down in the foundation. Mm-hmm. Like, I think without the first one being as successful, this one would be almost like, okay, this is getting to, craziness. But with what they did in the first one, it absolutely just builds up into you get to see more and more of a guy that's actually probably getting back into better shape.
Yeah.
With how he's been, with all the practice he has. Oh, shit.
Yeah, Jesus. So, like, there's the first scene, obviously, with the garage where he gets his car back. Yep. It's like all hand-to-hand combat for the most part until he shoots the guy's knees out. Other than that, it's like, pretty low stakes, like, not too much to lose, but, he gets his car back. And it's pretty like, okay, that makes sense. That would be the natural progression of things. And then he has to go kill the guy's sister, Santino D'Antonio's sister, Gianna D'Antonio. He has to go kill her, get out of there, and then, of course, he gets found out, has to kill a bunch of guys on the way out. Something that he's done probably hundreds of times before. No big deal.
Yeah, he was ready, too.
And then, of course, he gets into the catacombs. He gets double-crossed by Ruby Rose, the mute chick who does all the sign language. Mm-hmm. She's like, fuck you. And then he has to escape. Again, a situation that he is probably pretty familiar with, and he's got all those guns that he prepared because he was forward thinking enough to know that, okay, some shit's probably going to go down.
Oh yeah.
And so he escapes that. He heads back to the Continental of Rome, and then he finds out that there is a bounty on his head of $7 million from Santino D'Antonio, because obviously he wants him dead. So he goes back to New York.
Made it out of the catacombs.
Yeah, made it out of the catacombs. Gets back to New York, gets attacked by pretty much almost anybody around with a gun and a cell phone. Like, just gets basically swarmed upon in New York.
Any assassin that has communication with, what are they? It's administration, I believe, is what they had. The overall title was for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so anyone in the know, which is a lot of people, just swarm upon him and just descend on his very being. And so he's got to hustle and struggle to get to where he gets to, which is the Bowery King, which is played by Lawrence Fishburne.
He didn't even know that that's where he was going to get to, because he had no idea what was going on until he's in the subway and he just went, fuck, I'm not going to.
Yeah, a clear indication that he is struggling.
Yes.
And so then he gets the Bowery King, basically starts over. The Bowery King gives him a pistol with 7-round capacity. He's like, here you go. Good luck.
Yep.
And so then he goes to confront Santino D'Antonio. Basically, of course, has the odds stacked against him, but he's so full of that sheer will and rage that he just doesn't let anybody get to him. And so he's got hundreds of dudes descending upon him, probably this sheer force that's going against him, bigger than he's probably encountered in a while.
Oh yeah.
And so that just natural progression of the struggle of the character of John Wick physically is a lot better to me in terms of structure compared to the first one.
Oh yeah, I was about to say probably the first one actually. It's like a de-acceleration now that I think about it. I'm just hearing it. It's it goes from you probably red circle in the house, and then you start going down in terms of less and less of what he's actually combating. But once again, it's a revenge story, so it's not necessarily he's not assisting, he's not in this world, he's actually just getting back. So I mean that on that aspect, it kind of makes sense that it would get less and less, as you go throughout taking out, because it's just one guy's gang. But in this one, it's almost all of New York.
It's all of New York. It's these basically. Just all these different opposing forces that are just against him. He has to turn to the rags, basically, which is kind of symbolic to get to the riches that is Santino D'Antonio, in a way.
Yeah,
I might be stretching it a little bit, but
just a little bit.
There's gotta be some
you got
symbolism.
Because you did the mythological thing, and I'm fucking all over it right now. So whatever you want, Kyle, man.
Oh, thank you. I have your permission.
Well, I mean, at least I'll nod a lot more solemnly.
There you go.
I'm trying to think. Yeah. It's that's a very eloquent way of putting it. Mm-hmm. It's very true. And watching this one, the progression I think makes a lot more sense, especially tying it in with sort of the first one, having seen it. Because like you say, I mean, he's a person above the person. Mm-hmm. So when you lose some of that element going into the second one, and you just view him as a person again, you watch that and it kind of gets into ludicrousness, even though none of it's filmed like that. But watching it this time, absolutely, like you get the point of what he's doing, and the sheer willpower is the only thing that I think, if you have that aspect, it will keep you engaged. If you don't, it loses you just a little bit. Because the first one he was doing it for love. The second one was pretty
kind of obligation.
Yeah, well, I mean, once the guy was gonna kill him, so then it turns in from being like an external motivator, if you will. I mean, obviously it's survival, but like, at what point we've all seen survival, and we all know what it takes to survive. So like the first one, to see that the bond between him and his wife, and what that essentially, when it was taken from him, when it was still there and then it just ripped from it, you get that feeling of how he's probably feeling emotionally, but you still don't understand, I mean, unless you've been through that pain, But this one, everyone probably relate to survival, so that's like the only, in terms of like why it didn't resonate so much with me. But I mean, it's still John Wick, and he's got to live. So
right, and they even kind of reference it too in the movie, because Winston tells Santino, when Santino says it's his fault he came back, and Winston goes, he came back for love, not for you. And that's sort of like that same thing that you were saying there, is that like the sort of motivation of like the situations that are happening kind of does shift, like you said. And they do like kind of try to tie it back to the first movie in this film and the next film, which in the next film I kind of have a bigger issue with. But
both of these, let's
we'll stick to this one for right now.
Let's go off this, because I said this too, because I was watching it. I'm like, okay, he gets the car. He gets the fucking car, and it's all beat up, and I'm like, maybe it's symbolic, or maybe it's like how he feels. Maybe it's just because it's materialistic. It's not his actual wife is why he doesn't care about it, because it doesn't represent what he once had anymore. But he pulls out that fucking picture with the birthday card, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, you got that stashed away. Like, I get it. This is a great callback. You're reminding us about what this is all about and what you did. And then he takes it into the goddamn house. Put it back in the fucking car. So we always think, as the audience, you keep her with you. It's
associated with the car.
Yeah, and you keep her there. It's not like, it's not ham-fisted to remind us now. It's like, oh, I could see you doing this at any point in the day of, like, if you missed her, like, oh yeah, she's still here, and this car represents what I used to have, and like, this is still a piece of what once was. Like,
yeah, I agree 100%. Okay. I think it would have been a much better decision to leave that photo in the car, just so we have that emotional resonance with the car still, and it, like you said, reminds us of what happened in the first movie. Yeah, I agree 100%, especially now that you bring it up.
I'm glad you did, because that's they were so close to, I mean, personally for me, I was like, they were so close to doing it right, because he does it, and I was like, oh, that's a really effective way.
Yeah.
Without having to do dialogue. Like, easily with the Russian could have been like, I'm back in here and I'm getting out only because of my wife. Right? Or whatever. Like, and that would have been like, come on, like, what the fuck, man?
Luckily, the writing is a little bit better than that.
Yeah, it is. But you know what I'm saying? Like, at least they were like, oh, pull the picture out. Let's kind of remind him it's the same photo. And then they blew it because he has to bring it for no reason.
And then Santino burns his house down, which, to me, the house being burnt down didn't, like, resonate with me as much, obviously, as like the intruders killing his dog in the 100%. First movie. And it was kind of supposed to be that sort of same beat, because even like the same cop shows back up.
Yeah.
Evening, John. Gas leak? Kind of a callback to the first movie.
Well, I think that had such a wide laugh. They're like, they do a lot of callbacks in these films, which I appreciate 100%.
Yeah, with like Aurelio and the cop, of course.
Yeah.
Different things. It's funny you bring that up too, because there was a deleted scene in this movie that had Charlie, the body cleaner, in it.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they chose to not put it in for two reasons. One, because what follows is like just basically another scene of Winston and Santino talking to each other about how Winston thinks it's a really bad idea that he brought the marker to John Wick.
Oh.
And two, the guy that plays Charlie has like a significantly longer beard in that scene when the movie is supposed to take place like a week after the first one.
Yeah.
So continuity wise, it wouldn't have lined up.
Sure.
But also thematically, they were already just hammering home the same points that we already knew. So they just chose not to put it in for obvious reasons.
I think they kind of were. I mean, that's what they looked in the mirror like, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We know what we are. Mm-hmm. And they they do, like you said, I mean, they do a great job progressing the film.
Yeah, I love the way it progresses.
And I'm glad you said it too like that, because you're absolutely right. I mean, you're kind of, now you're on the roller coaster, because now you're going back up in terms of like what's going on with his life.
Absolutely. Like this, just the situation is ramped up to me. I will say that I think because David Leitch didn't really have anything to do with this movie or the next movie, I think that there is a little bit of him that you kind of miss in these other two films. This one kind of especially, because it doesn't feel as stylistic as the first one did. The first one had a lot of different like camera angles, not even in like the action scenes, but like just the standard scenes just by themselves, you know,
right.
when characters are having dialogue or like they're walking somewhere or whatever. Like the first movie felt really stylistic in terms of like the cinematography and the like lighting and the effects and like the visual stuff. This movie it wasn't bad, but I kind of missed that whole like sort of artsy feel to it. Like it felt, the first one felt so unique in not just the action, but like just the way that it was shot and like the different like visual styles that were going on. Whereas this one kind of feels really samey a lot of the time. Like when characters talk to each other, it's sort of like the standard, like over the shoulder, sort of back and forth. It's a lot of like, mid shots, There is a shot that I really love in this movie. There's a few shots, but one of them that stands out to me is when he's on the train, basically like going to, like on his way to go to Rome. And he's like just hanging onto the rail by himself, all like beat up, and he like the light is just on him and like this crowd of people that's just all dark around him. I really like that shot. Yeah. That shot's really cool. In terms of just like a non-action scene, I really like that one. But otherwise, the way the movie's shot, I think, is a couple steps down from what the first film was, in my opinion.
I would say, so it's cinematography of it, I'm assuming is, Yep. I mean, I definitely see what you're saying, because I was so enthralled with the eye candy, because I think the lighting in this and some of the visuals are in the music, I thought all of it was fantastic. Like I think all three of them are on the same level in terms of visualization. But I definitely know what you're like when you're talking about cinematography in terms of maybe becoming stale. Because some of the action sequences I'm thinking about in the first one, I think there was like one time in the house they were fighting, and he took the camera outside and was just panning down the stairs as John Wick was going down the stairs fighting the guys. Like I think that was a shot, and I think you like you say, you might miss some of that with this one. Yeah,
like I think a lot of that definitely was David Leitch, because with Chad Stahelski being the sole director of Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, I feel like those movies are sort of like missing that element, and I miss it.
I would agree, actually, because now that I think about it, the third one was definitely stagnant in terms of what was going on. Okay. And I think the third one would actually you probably miss it even more than in this one. Yeah. But this one might have just a little bit more of a cohesive story with what was going on, so it doesn't feel like it's missing as much, because like everything definitely seems planned or used for a reason.
Like maybe like forced a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's a certain nature, when you're taking the next 3 steps forward. You're doing it for,
there's like kind of like an obligation.
Yeah, however you want to view it. I mean, it's just there's more concise in how the third one felt, and I think it actually stands out now that you're talking about it with the third one and what we'll talk about whenever we get to the third
Yeah,
one.
well, I mean, it's a good segue. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Chapter 2?
I think Chapter 2, the one of the more fun moments in it was when he has to get fitted. He's got to go talk to the
I really like that scene.
sommelier. Mm-hmm. And there was one other, the only one that I actually didn't like was just the cardiographer. It was the only one.
He felt a little like shoehorned it. Like they really didn't need to show him at all. Like you could take him and that scene out and it wouldn't make a difference in the movie.
I don't even know if, honestly, I don't think as an audience member, if he got to the catacombs, you would be questioning about how he knows his way around.
Right.
Because it's John Wick. So like, I don't think we have that. But the sommelier part was kind of funny because I just like 3 years ago or whatever, found out like what a sommelier was.
Yeah.
So when they open up and he opens up the door and you see all the bottles there, it's like, what's he doing?
Yeah. And then it pans over.
And then you get to the guns.
You see all the weapons.
He is going through all of the guns. And I was like, oh, what about dessert?
Desserts.
It's like, this is so refreshing.
Yeah,
man.
it's great. It's great. Him and the suit tailor guy were pretty good. And, there is another deleted scene. Mm-hmm. I will mention. It's like I think it was meant to be a part of that like montage where he goes and he visits a cardinal.
Oh,
like those like Catholic priests guys in the Vatican or whatever. Like he goes and he visits one of them and he like gets blessed by one of the cardinals, and they say like a phrase in Latin to him, and he like says something back to them also. It's supposed to be like an implication that like there are people in the Catholic Church that are a part of the world, and it's kind of cool, but I see why they didn't add it in. It just didn't really serve that much of a purpose other
more
than like
fluff. And they're already driving home of what this universe is. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
don't need to drive it home like that.
Right. Yeah. Cool if you love the world, which I do, but
for sure.
Again, didn't really serve cohesiveness in the scene, so I see why they didn't include it. What would you rate John Wick Chapter 2?
So for me, this is an 8. Little, like you said, I mean, just a little bit more stagnant. I think the story, and I'm not talking, I guess, about his arc or his journey, but the story itself seemed not stale, but it was just kind of.
You weren't as invested, I guess, in like the story of it. The action scenes were compelling in their own right.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you right now, I was like, they've one-upped it and they did a fantastic job. I mean, the catacomb scene alone gave me like a whole new perspective that I've never had as an audience member ever, which is like a fucking first, And then you have some of the fighting scenes. They kind of show like what he could have did with that pencil. The subway scene with Cassian was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, I loved that one too.
That was a really fun fight. I think the only person I didn't really like in this was Lawrence Fishburne.
Interesting.
And
okay.
I thought he just was doing overacting.
Yeah, it just felt a little over the top.
Oh my god. Well, you take what he did, and so this is the first time you see these guys from The Matrix, and you take how they both were. And essentially, Keanu's still the same, so that's your association there is like, all right, it's still the same person. So even if you viewed them as humans, one of the same, Neo and John Wick, right? Well, and then you get Morpheus, who's the exact opposite of how the King Bower,
the Bowery King
is acting. And I was like, maybe that's how Lawrence Fishburne is, and maybe that's what it was designed for, but like, I was like, it just felt over the top and just a little too much.
Yeah, I felt that way too on my first viewing. Mm-hmm. I think with multiple viewings, he's kind of grown on me a little bit, especially with the context of the third film, which we'll get into. Yeah. But I agree with you. I would give this an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
I love these movies, but I have to acknowledge some of the flaws. I think that stylistically is not as interesting as the first one.
Yeah.
And like you were saying with the character motivations in the story, not as compelling as the first movie also.
Right.
And action scenes are bangers though.
Oh my God, dude. This was a 7 out of 10. I mean, it went up to an 8 out of 10 just because I was like watching it just being like, I really got to applaud how they do this. And they they didn't take more of the same from the first one. I mean, they said, hey, we got something here. Like,
yeah, let's make it right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, on to Parabellum.
On to John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, now, which is Latin for prepare for war.
Yeah, I was about to say they say it in the movie.
Yep.
And they happen to, in the fucking big-ass red bold, put prepare for war, right?
Yep.
And I remember being like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's what that means.
Yeah, like just, simple Mac.
My favorite scene in the movie is when Ian McShane turns to the camera and he says, well, you know what they say, John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum.
Yeah. So slapped me upside the head. I was like, oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. No, I guess I can summarize this since you did the last one. Yeah. So John Wick Chapter 3 is a direct continuation of the last film, even more so than the second one was to the first one, because the way the second one ends is he kills Santino D'Antonio on continental grounds, which is against the rule, and also he was a member of the High Table, so he gets a bounty of $14 million on his head. However, Winston likes him and is friendly with him, so he's like, you have 1 hour, John Wick. And so John Wick has basically an hour to figure out how he's going to survive assassins from every corner of New York descending upon him and trying to kill him for that sweet cash. And so the movie starts out, he's running through the streets with his dog, and he basically is just trying to survive the bounty that has been put on him, and that's basically the gist of the movie.
That's
as much as I can go without giving too much away. So,
well, it would just be another. It just leads into the next step.
Yeah, the next step. So, this movie, in terms of action, is my favorite out of the three. I would say,
dude, I think I'm like 3 for 3 on fucking comments about
about my sentimentalities.
Dude, we were watching it and we got to the scene in Morocco, and like to me it was and I was a little, for me it was just a little, like I'll say it got more, they started cramming more in, right? So the action is overtaking now. But watching that, and I was like, dude, I bet you this might be Kyle's favorite one, or this is why he liked the second and third one more on the second, on your viewings of back to back, because you actually could compare them side by side.
Yes, and I will say this right now, and I think it even for me surpasses the red circle scene in the first one.
Okay.
The antique shop knife fight.
Oh, so
at
much
the start
fun.
of this fucking movie is so good. I think it is probably one of my favorite action scenes in any movie that I've seen.
The antique knife.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. And it's fun.
It's so much fun. You can tell that there was a lot of choreography that went into it.
Yes.
I really like the way the special effects look. I like the way that just the environment was, like, just visually. I really like the set design.
Oh my god, yeah.
It fit in with the world of John Wick and that sort of character. They're literally surrounded by all these like medieval like hatchets and knives and like axes and different things that they all use in that scene.
Yes.
Like it's like Chekhov's gun, except if there were 1,000 knives on the wall.
Is that why he had to use that gun? Because they showed it?
Yeah.
That's why he had to find. I was wondering about why the fuck they had that in there.
Yeah, I love the way that they built up that scene. So, okay, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
So, your boy, Boban.
Oh, yeah.
So, he's the first, like, action scene in this film.
Yes.
He goes to the library, and he goes and he gets another picture of his wife from this book.
Oh, my God.
Which he doesn't take with him, I noticed. He, like, puts it back in the book.
I don't give a shit.
Okay.
I don't fucking care at this point. Like, you're... To have that, and I'm like, how many goddamn pictures does he have stored away in all these fucking mementos of his?
I would wager a couple more somewhere in the corners of the world.
I bet you got his fucking back.
Yeah, so he goes and he looks at the picture, gives it a kiss, but then he also basically goes there for the purpose of getting the cross, the like, what's that called? The Roman cross with like the beads.
I don't know.
There's like a rosary. Is that it?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so he gets the rosary for a purpose that he's going to use later, and then Boban, who's like, how tall is he?
7'4", 7'5".
Hello,
John.
Isn't he like Ukrainian or something?
Boban?
Yeah.
Czechoslovakian.
He's an Eastern Europe basketball player for the NBA.
Yeah.
And he's tall as fuck. Like
his hands are huge.
His hands are ginormous. He's like the most gangly looking dude you'll ever see in a movie. He
had to crouch down to fight too. Which when I was watching it, I was saying like that's such a unique fighting style. And then you realize, oh, it's because Keanu's like 6'3".
Yeah.
And he's a foot and a half taller than him.
Yeah.
That's why he's always crouched down.
It's insane. So then he gets in the fight with I think his name is he has a different name in the movie. What's his name? Ernest, yeah.
Ernest. Which was kind of funny. I had to laugh when they called him Ernest.
Ernest in a library.
This fucking European-looking 7'6" dope. No wonder you call him Ernest.
Yeah. So Ernest basically is like, 15 minutes, who's going to know the difference? And he starts attacking him. And then, of course, John Wick kills him with a book.
Scene, too, because like that is like such a... Well, we're here, John. Why don't we just do it? There isn't. It was such like a.
John's like, you sure you want to do this?
Yeah, like it could be your last day on Earth, and he's like, no, who cares? It's just 15 minutes. Yeah, whatever it is.
14 million, a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh my god. And it's funny too because he had a little bit of personality just in that scene alone. I thought he'd be so fucking dry, and I was like, Boban could do more movies.
Yeah. No, he's a great like cameo actor.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like any longer, it might have been like, okay, they're stretching a little thin, but
in the fighting too, you can definitely sense that he's. He's fleet-footed for being that tall, but definitely not like the other guys that get. And the fight felt like a little herky-jerky, which would probably be, but for what we're used to watching,
it kind of works for how awkwardly large the man is.
Yes,
so
100%. But it's funny because then you see him like with his fucking meat grinder of a hand over John Wick's face, and he's just controlling him.
It's like a big old foam hand that you would see at a baseball game.
He was literally he palmed him and was slapping him around. Like, could you imagine having a hand that big? Like, if I could take your head and slam you back and forth.
Are you saying you would? I'm scared now.
Yeah, if I could.
You bet. I'd fly over this table.
But yeah, the book death. That's like the hey, this is where we're going.
It sets the tone for the movie, 100%. Which is like we're going for it.
Yes,
and that's what you can expect, and that's certainly what we get.
And then we get to the antique shop fight scene, which was.
So good,
so fun, so funny, and
the build up too when he's trying to assemble that gun to make the round fit into the chamber. So he basically has to take an entire gun apart, in order to put the right size chamber in and the barrel so he can fire the gun. You like
that scene?
I enjoy it because it's like it exemplifies just how proficient he is with weapons and not only using them, but in terms of like just putting them together.
And this is why.
Okay. What? Explain yourself.
There was every size bullet, and he chose the wrong bullet and decided to craft the gun to the wrong bullet, as opposed to going slightly smaller. It just didn't fit slightly. So instead of grabbing that 9 3/4, why don't you grab an 8 7/8?
Was there other size bullets?
Yeah, if you watch that scene again, that's why I got fucking annoyed. I was like, they're all right there. I honestly thought this is why, and maybe it's because I'm an idiot, but I honestly thought he was gonna set down the gun and start trying to pluck bullets, and we're gonna have a fun time with him, like as he's like waiting. Instead, they went the opposite way, and he crafts a whole new gun to get one shot off.
Even if that's, that's probably true. You're probably right. But even then, I still like the sentiment of the scene. I like what it symbolizes, the sort of like panicky struggle that he's in, and the buildup of it, where he like only gets one round off, and then he's got to fight all these guys like hand to hand.
Continuity then. Maybe not even continuity, but just have it so where there's like 6 bullets sitting right there. You don't need to have a whole thing of bullets. have him just sitting right next to him, and then he looks and he grabs and he goes, "Oh shit, not the right."
I'll have to rewatch that scene because I don't remember there being other size bullets, but you're probably right.
Well, take a look at it because I'm pretty, and I could be off too. There might have just been a whole row, but I'm pretty sure that what I saw was like different size because there's different guns in that. So what I figured was, they're gonna with the different guns, they're gonna have the different bullets.
Not exactly, but I'm okay with it for right now. And in my memory, if I rewatch it, you'll be right, and I'll see those guns, and it'll annoy the shit out of me. But for right now, I am in your head.
The other problem. So he took out, and then he redid the chamber with a filer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I was kind of curious, and I could be off too. Like I said, I mean, I got from watching it, it was kind of more of like thinking about other things going on.
Interesting.
Well, I was trying to think about what happened in the second one and the first one and where this one was going. And then they got to that scene and I just immediately got annoyed. So, I mean, like I said, I could be off with the bullet thing, but like, I'm pretty sure I saw it.
It's taking every bit of my power to not shut this movie off right now.
No, it's just one of those things. Well, then I also got annoyed too because he only did one shot. Like, I just was like, you've got a whole slew of guys running up these steps and it's just one guy runs through and everyone else does not happen to be there. Like,
I don't know. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I mean,
it was fun.
It's just me. Nitpicking. I was just a little annoyed with everything else. Cheeky.
Very cheeky.
That's what I was thinking.
I'll say this right now. You are nitpicking and biased. I win. Bye-bye.
No, I don't want to do all that. Because, I mean, outside of that, we'll keep going because I didn't. Okay. This one didn't resonate with me as well as the other two.
Let's not linger on this too long.
No.
So, yeah, antique shop fight scene.
The knives
awesome. The knives. Amazing. I love the way that not every single one of them like stuck into somebody.
How it hit, the butt would hit and fall down.
The butt would hit and he'd like have to block it, or like the butt end would just hit and just not stick into anything.
I mean, how they were, and the funny part too is because it is like you say, panic. So they're just grabbing and chucking.
Yeah.
It's like survival. If me and you got into a wall, like it would just be like go, like it'd be like, okay, and then all of a sudden it's just how fast can I get this off?
Yeah.
Only one's got to land.
I love it so much. Like I will, like almost on a monthly, maybe like bi-weekly basis, I will look that scene up on YouTube and I'll just rewatch it.
Really?
And I'll just like fall in love with it over and over again. Like it's so well choreographed and so well planned that I just can't help but love it. So yeah, that scene's great. And then of course, obviously he's still got the bounty, so he's still like runs away. The horse kills like are a little cheesy.
Oh yeah,
like almost a little too cheesy for me. But I don't know. Like it kind of like adds a little bit to it at the same time. They're
trying to get creative.
Especially when he ties the rope around the guy's neck and he rides the horse and he goes and the guy's like being dragged by his head. I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, I mean, cool. I think the first one when he gets the kick off when he slaps the horse's ass and it does. Yeah. I like audibly I was like, oh. Like it was,
you start to see him like guide the horse. You're like, oh shit, I know where he's going with
like
this.
That's a part of the creativity process. Like I was getting actually mad at that one because I was like, where the fuck are there horses in New York? But then you remember there's horse-drawn carriages, and I think it was a little bit product placement with the Clydesdales and Budweiser.
Oh,
trying
maybe
to get some of that. Like it's But yeah, and then on the horse with the two bikes, the CGI a little bad.
See, that's okay. I'm glad you said something because I agree. I think that in some, and I feel like this movie relies more on it than the last two.
Yes.
Is that there are more instances where they feel like they need to use CGI instead of practical.
There was one bizarre one in this one too.
Yeah. Was it the motorcycle scene with the swords? Or was it something else?
There was one where it's like they did a close-up and you can obviously tell it's Keanu's head against a green screen.
Okay. Maybe it was like in the desert or something.
No, it might have been in the second one. I don't remember, but neither here nor there. This one...
Oh, you know what? It might have been... I think I know what you're talking... Is it in the like mirror scene?
Yeah.
When he's like against like an LED screen?
Yeah, something like that. It was a bizarre like, why did they do this?
Maybe maybe it was green screen. Maybe it was like the effect of like the screen behind him. I don't know. But it was weird. I will admit. Like it was like kind of... It made me wonder like... what's going on there? But yeah, no, this movie specifically, I think, uses more CGI than the previous two movies combined.
100%, yeah.
And I think it like kind of shows. And these movies, I feel like they haven't like shied from using practical effects when either necessary or stylistically it would look better. So I don't know why they would opt for, not using that. I guess maybe it's just more convenient or easier to do.
I mean, that taking a horse through, I think they got the horse out.
I think the horse is real. Like the
horse. No. I mean, like they actually are, when the horse and Keanu are on the horse and they go out of the stable and onto the street and the bikes are like, there's a little bit of a chase. Like they had a horse in New York City or wherever they were shooting it and blocked off, or maybe it was on set. I mean, however it goes.
I remember it was like one of the first like released images of the movie is him on a horse. Yeah.
Which is kind of badass.
Right.
But then once they get going under the subway system, that's when it gets to kind of. I mean, they're taking their shot though.
Yeah.
I mean, and they know, they're like, all right, well, we've already, the first story, the second story are already done. Like, this is just up in the ante. Like, we might as well just have fun with it.
Right. And they throw a lot of action scenes to the wall in this movie.
Yes.
And most of them, I would say, stick pretty well. There are some that like are a little underwhelming in terms of just like, okay, you could clearly tell that like it's a little maybe goofier, maybe not as well choreographed as it could have been, but it's still a lot of fun to watch. So what I think, what is your favorite part of this movie? I guess is it the antique knife fight scene?
Well, no, I do love that. That one
because that's probably my favorite part.
Right, I picked up on that with I watch it once a month. No, mine, and it's probably my second favorite one because when it first came out and I first watched it, my buddy Justin, was like, Mac, we got to watch this scene. Like, you got to watch this. Like, one was Bow Bond, the other one was the knife fight. He was like, and we watched it, and I remember laughing the whole time. I was like, that was really fun. That was just like a real, like how you'd probably feel, And I had the same emotion the second time. As soon as they got in there, I was like, I remember this. And then they're going through, and I was like, this is just really fun. Like, like I don't know how to describe it. I mean, it's well done, well choreographed in the nights, and it would actually probably, like, the realism isn't lost on you. And the whole world of what's going on with the third one, like, that's probably, like, one of the more realistic parts I felt about it. The other one was the hotel at the end. Third act.
With the basically SWAT guys.
And they had it where they were like...
I have a better appreciation for it now than I did on previous watches.
The lighting in it, the way that they have to react, the sense of humor around it.
Yeah.
Where it almost turns into... at one point... when they come back and have to reload, the guy sitting there, he's getting drunk, just letting people take care of his shit. John Wick's pissed because obviously he's like, I got to do more work. And then the other guy's pissed because the clerk, because he probably lost all his good men.
Yeah.
And he's like, now I got to do more work. And then they go back in there, and the way that they walked back in, it was like a dad that told his kids they had to go rake the yard.
Yeah,
and it started to rain. And they were like, we still have to get it done. This is fucking bullshit. And just storming back to get better equipment so they could still get the job done. Like, was this, it wasn't defeated. It was just pissed off, like in a little, like a childlike manner. And where the stakes were at and what was happening, it's very humorous. It's a juxtaposition almost.
It's a fun scene. It's a very fun scene.
Yeah.
And I like I said before, I have a bigger appreciation for it on this rewatch than I did on previous rewatches. Because I'm so in love with that first knife fight that I'm like, all right, nothing can top this. And while I still don't think that scene can top it, I think that it definitely still holds its own.
I like, to me, I mean, it fits right in. I mean, if you kind of break up all of the stuff in all the movies and took out your own favorite, like, if you call them scenes or however, with the scenarios, whatever you want to classify them as, that one is, to me, right there with the house scene.
Yeah.
In the first one.
I think it serves as a good, like, third act fight.
Oh, yeah. And they do the enemy, the villains, do a great job of recognizing who they're dealing with. It's not another cog in the machine. It's like these guys are trained killers too. We need to keep them alive, and we'll stand a better chance. And you get that, after he keeps popping them, and they're not going down, and he keeps headshots, and they're still not.
Yeah.
And then he realizes, oh shit, I have to
improvise, and I have to go back and reassess.
Yeah. And
it's a good progression of what's happening.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. So and it's funny too, because that's actually the 2 points of the movie that I most like. Or those right there, and then everything in between is just all right. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah, I think the part with Halle Berry. So first of all, what did you think of Halle Berry in this movie?
She's a smoke show. Absolutely.
Okay.
Gorgeous.
What about her acting?
Her acting. She's fantastic. Absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, she kind of popped out of nowhere. At this point, they've had a couple callbacks, and you're at
to John Wick's past.
At this point, it's just I was so like they get to the he makes it to the Russian, and then they're like, we're gonna do this for you. So he's going through more of this pain, like he's going through hell to get back to where he needs to get to. Or survive. I don't even know. The problem I had with it was I don't even know what his motivation is to get back to the Continental to end the high table.
So the reason why he needed to go see the Russian lady, who basically it's implied that that's where he grew up.
No, I got that point.
Yeah.
And they owe him for his services for helping them.
Yeah. I am owed, he tells her.
Yeah.
And so then they do that for him. They give him passage to Casablanca. Then he goes there. He gets Sophia's help. Sophia, played by Halle Berry.
And he has the marker. Obviously, he got her out of a pinch.
Yep. And so then she's pissed at him because, he's showing up at her doorstep with this marker saying, hey, you owe me. And so they go and they find out, because John Wick needs to find out where he can find the one who sits above the table, basically like the head honcho. Which, by the way, I don't know if you felt this way. I certainly did. The guy kind of felt underwhelming, in this,
how they describe him.
No, who he was.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
how they lead up to where this guy's at, and how to get to him.
The one who sits above the table, the guy, the head honcho, who's in charge of everything underneath the high table and the high table itself, just felt like some random ass dude just in the desert.
The problem is it's basically the god of this world. So whatever projection you have of what you're thinking, he'd never live up to it.
He didn't even look imposing to me. He just looked like this kind of regular Joe that would sell you a used car at Benton Baker or whatever.
You're talking the guy out in the desert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't feel intimidating.
I didn't even know he was the guy.
Yeah, he did. I had to double check when I first watched the movie just to make sure is this the guy or is he the assistant? But no, it is the guy.
Because the Halle Berry's, whoever that guy was, told him how to get to the guy.
Yeah, and that guy felt more like the guy
agreed.
than the other guy.
He had more personality. That guy just get out there and he was so fucking stale.
Yeah.
He just had no charisma, character, and he didn't do anything. It's why even lead this whole universe?
He was so bland. I don't even know what the actor's name was who played him.
We don't need to shit on that guy. It's not like it was.
No,
he got told to play like that.
Right,
but I don't even think they even knew what to do with that position.
I wish he had more gravitas, and I wish he had more of an oomph to his character, other than just being some dude who we're supposed to think is the guy who's above all and is in charge of everything. He's the head honcho. I did not get that sense from him at all.
A heaven and hell journey for John Wick in this one. I mean, if you're going on a mythological tear with it, is this versus his lowest of the lows to get to the highest of the highs to seek redemption? I don't.
Yeah, this guy's supposed to be basically the god of their world.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
He's just some dude.
It was I thought
It's such a problem with him.
Well, then I had a problem with just what the fuck was happening throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want to say it felt like it wasn't too I don't know, dude. I just have the motivational factor of it just.
Yeah, and like I want to circle back to Halle Berry too. I didn't think she was great in this movie. Like I didn't.
Or you thought like her acting?
Yeah, like I didn't think her acting was. That's what I was talking about before.
Her and Lawrence. Yeah, I know we kind of drifted. Her and Lawrence Fishburne felt like they just mailed it in.
See, I didn't mind Lawrence Fishburne as much because I was used to how his character was in the previous movie. Whereas this movie, they were just like, all right, let's get Halle Berry in there, and she's going to be in the movie too, and she's going to do action scenes as well, and like, yeah, I don't know. It felt like she definitely felt like a shoehorn for sure, and it didn't help that she's not the greatest actress.
Well, and I'm watching it, and I was just like, God, it feels like they just needed to add like an opposite sex in here or something else, so you're not just staring at John Wick for all three movies. So like, let's just get a nice piece of eye candy and throw her in here, you know?
Yeah.
Like, who cares? And I just was like, that's just.
And I like the action scene. I like the scene that she's in, like in terms of action. Like
I'm gonna tell you right now, from when it gets going to when it ends, and she does her little joke to him. Those action sequences pretty fun.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and
they had a lot of tracking shots in there. So I mean, Halle Berry was practicing her ass off to do.
Oh yeah, there's videos of like her and Keanu Reeves on like a shooting range, just
really
practicing for these movies. Yeah, that's the thing. When the second movie was coming out is when like the tradition of like them releasing the training footage of Keanu Reeves going through like the courses with like the different guns and like the martial arts and stuff.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's when that whole thing started coming around. I mean, you can look it up on YouTube. It's like Keanu Reeves John Wick training. Like if you look that up, you'll find like tens of videos of like him going through these different gun courses and like just acing things because he's had so much practice with it now.
Right.
Like he knows like guns inside and out by now.
Yeah,
like it's pretty crazy. And Halle Berry, of course, joined him when they were making the third one, which is pretty cool. And it shows in the action scenes.
She looked fantastic. Like I know I'm gonna knock on her, and I'm not just calling her like a pretty set of eyes just sitting in this thing. I didn't like her acting. I didn't care for it really at all.
No, like her dialogue was a little cringy.
It doesn't come across as genuine.
Yeah.
But when they got to fighting, I was like, dude, I thought it was going to be herky-jerky on her end. Not at all.
That felt pretty fluid.
Yeah, it looked pretty fluid.
Mm-hmm.
So,
excuse me.
I mean, like, she did a fantastic job on that aspect. And that's where they don't really go wrong.
Yeah.
With that, the choreography and the action, they definitely have, like, if you plucked out a lot of the script in this, like, the dialogue just felt neutered. Like it felt like a lot less.
Yeah, it sometimes almost felt like a parody of the films that came before it. At certain points.
This one, I literally said, right now, John Wick feels like a modern day James Bond. He's got the hot chick. He knows all of these different languages. He knows Russian. He knows Latin. He knows French, Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Like he speaks all of this stuff. He's the coolest of cool guys. And he's not a supernatural force, and like you said, mythological. But I mean, it's fucking close to not being just killed.
Yeah.
So and then and that's when Halle Berry came in, and I just was like, this definitely feels like they've taken a right turn into nonsensical.
Yeah.
I don't know what his driving force is besides he's a badass, and now we got a hot chick in here, and he's got to find the high one, and it's not even to destroy the high one. Like that's why I was kind of hoping. Like I don't know after that point what he was gonna do.
Yeah. So yeah, going back to like the dude in the desert.
Yes.
He goes and sees him, and so he's like, and this is like another big issue I had.
Right.
He goes and he sees him, and he's like, how can I make it so that the high table doesn't hunt me anymore? And the guy's basically, well, give your life back to us, and you'll be working for us. Yep. For the rest of your days until you die. That way you can preserve the memory of your wife. And so then he like has John Wick swear his fealty to him by making him like cut off one of his fingers. I think his ring finger.
Yeah.
And so he cuts off his finger, and he's like, I need you to kill Winston in order to make it so that the bounty is cleared of your head. And so he goes back to New York. he confronts Winston, and Winston's like, I don't know about you, but I like you, John Wick. And John Wick's like, yeah, I like you too. I'm not going to kill you. It's like, you just went through all that to just, and I get why he doesn't kill Winston. You know, up until that point, like, Winston's looked out for him to the best of his ability.
It wasn't
like,
even his call to do it. I mean, he just had another. So I mean, you're kind of looking at the free will aspect. Maybe this almost does feel like
so. Like the whole like cutting the finger off and like swearing your fealty just felt so pointless.
Oh yeah,
like it didn't feel like there was a point to it, especially after that scene. Like,
all of it felt pointless because they get there and it's just like, hey, let's just team up and work together. When if he doesn't go through any of that shit, like literally, if you think about this, after the adjudicator shows up, okay, if John Wick just was like, man, let me see if I can sneak back into my old room, met up with Winston, they could have right then and there been
could have
like,
saved so much headache.
Yeah,
so
like,
much
hey,
trouble.
I need your help. I will let you stay here. You know, I'll give you a shelter. You got, what do they call it? Safety or
yeah, I don't remember.
He kept calling it. They kept calling it the shelter of the. Oh my god, I can't even.
I don't remember.
Anyways, yeah, all that could have been erased. I think is why once we got to the ending there, I was just like, whatever.
So,
and the third act in this one was lacking.
I was gonna say, I was gonna bring that up. The another issue, I feel like I wasn't going into this with as many issues as I had apparently.
Oh, we can build off each other because I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I feel like we have to address it. The last like sword fight and like the confrontation he has with the actors from the Raid movies.
Yes.
Which, you know, I love that they were in the movie. I love that they were.
There's a little tip of the cap and a nod to, hey, you know, you guys. And it was it's kind
of like one franchise acknowledging the other and being like, oh, Mr. Wick, we have so much respect for you.
Yeah.
And I like what the scene was going for, but I think like execution wise, it didn't feel like it lived up to the standard as like the previous scenes did in the same movie. Like, you take the knife fight from the first act and you're like, holy shit, this is fucking wild. Like, there's so much stuff going on. And then you get to the scenes in the third act where he's like fighting these dudes in like this weird like glass, like multi-layered set of rooms, and he's like, okay, it feels like they maybe were like in a rush or something and they like had to like get this choreography out because it doesn't feel convincing a lot of the times. I don't know, like, you feel the same way?
I know I do, but I immediately got annoyed because they could have killed him and they didn't. It could have easily ended at one point, and then they're like, well, we really want to have a fight with him. Like, not that this counts, but like, let's actually think because we can beat him, we'll just have a fight with him and not kill him. Like, it just, I hate when fucking films do that. Yeah,
like when the villains like toy with the protagonist.
They're kind of toying, but you know, these aren't even the main guys.
Right.
Like, don't have it like that, or at least, like, I thought, all right, maybe he gets up, blocks him off, and they go, oh, because of the parry, like, let's give him a second. Because obviously he's very good at countering, you know, like, no, we could have killed him. They kind of do the thing, and then they're like, oh, this is the most time in any movie that I've seen a person almost die that can't die because people chose not to kill him.
Right.
Which I have a fucking issue with that. When it's like he's indestructible and you see constantly like, wow, how hard he is to kill, that when they actually have the shot to do it, they don't. Maybe it's toying with the audience. I don't know, but it's dumb to me. Like, I don't get it.
There is, not that I agree with it completely, but there is kind of an argument you can make for that specific reason for those two characters, because they acknowledge that their boss, what's his name, Mark Dukakis?
Oh, the head, the sushi guy?
The bald guy? Yeah. They acknowledge that the bald guy, like their boss, or like their teacher or whatever, because he always refers to them as like his students.
Pupils or students, something.
Like, you could make a case that they're keeping him alive because they know that their boss wants to kill him,
Yeah, I did that fucking reasoning too. And it doesn't like.
Well, and I'm saying that you can make that argument. Not that I agree with it. I think that it still kind of comes across as like too cheesy and too jilted. And
I'm with you on.
Yeah,
like I agree, and I did like I'm telling like when I don't watch these things and immediately get upset. I try to do like in my head, okay, why did he do that? If you do why did they? There's an argument there, 100%, because that guy's still alive. I just get pissed off when it's like, then acknowledge that, or do like the kind of, because I think they might have like looked up and he was looking down. I can't remember if that's how it went. I feel like we didn't know he was still up there until after John Wick killed those two guys. And I know that he said that you will be mine to John Wick several times. Mm-hmm. But not only that guy got the knife against John Wick's neck and pulled the sword back.
Yeah.
And that's when I went, okay, like what the fuck are we doing here? Like,
right.
You know, it's got...
Like it didn't feel up to par with the rest of the scenes that came before it.
Not the third.
Like I was kind of like a little let down from it.
It's almost like the first movie again. Because, I mean, you have, like, the Boban fight's amazing. The antiques... I won't say that because the hotel with the guns was fantastic. But
hotel with the guns was great.
There's a lot more needless action in this.
Yeah. Like I said, they throw a lot of action scenes at the wall.
Right, right.
Most of them stick, but there are a few that don't that you're like, I have to acknowledge this.
Let me say... I shouldn't say it like that. It is needless action, but... You could remove, like I said, all the dialogue from this and put just the action sequences in here, and you would be amazed still. I thought it was all needless in Morocco. Like that one went way on longer than I thought it should have.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away with how well they were shot.
Right.
I mean, they're fucking amazing. I mean, you got tracking shots all over the place. And granted, they might have spliced it, CGI'd it, however it goes to make it seem more. I didn't know. I just was like, this is so much more with less dialogue now that it doesn't feel like we're driving to a point. So at this point, I'm just watching vignettes of people fighting as opposed to the first one, he's driving towards something. And in the second one, like you said, he's got
the action set pieces feel like they have more of a purpose.
Yeah.
In the first two than in this one.
Yes.
I agree with you. So, yeah, basically the way this movie ends... I didn't like when I saw this in theaters. I didn't expect it to end on a cliffhanger. Like I thought for sure it was gonna be like the last in the trilogy, and that they were just gonna finish it off. But no, they are clearly making more.
Yeah, 100%.
And of course, I'm thrilled. I'm excited. So they're going to make 2 more movies.
Oh, they got 2 more lined up.
Yep, they've got Chapter 4 and Chapter 5. They were going to film both of them back to back. Mm-hmm. They were going to do kind of like a, Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they had to delay them because Keanu had obligations to The Matrix Resurrections, which after having watched Matrix Resurrections, why the fuck didn't he just tell him no and go with John Wick? Like, clearly there's a better set of responsibilities there that he should have undertaken.
Shout out Keanu Reeves.
I love you, Keanu Reeves. But yeah, no, the Matrix Resurrections, not worth it. Not worth us having to wait longer for Chapter 4, because it was supposed to come out last year, like around the same time that the Matrix did. But nope.
The $40 million that's sitting in his bank account might argue with you. I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
Capitalist pig.
He chose the wrong pill.
Yeah.
In that situation.
Fuck yeah. Chose the turd-covered one.
Instead of the shiny, glistening neon lights that is the John Wick franchise.
Yeah.
So yeah, is there anything else you want to say about Chapter 3? Anything that we might have missed?
No, I got it all out. I'm telling you, like my viewing experience last night, having seen it kind of, I think, throughout, paying attention the whole time. It lost me at points. I think up until the hotel scene, like I looked down at my phone once. I was like, "Where are we at?"
Yeah. Okay.
And I didn't think it was really, to me. His motivation was lacking. It wasn't driving to a point, and a lot of the action sequences were starting to center around more of like, hey, we're that film, and it made John Wick feel a little less of John Wick. You know, like the James Bond stuff. I think at some point you're kind of like, oh, he's not gonna die because it is James Bond.
The plot armor.
Yeah. So that started setting in, but then it grabbed me back with that hotel scene. Like immediately, I was like, oh, that's the dumbest fucking thing I heard between you two being, don't be a pawn, let me live. I'll grant you amnesty. You know, and then let's just take out the adjudicator. And then that hotel scene happened. I was like, man, this is fucking sweet.
Yeah.
And then it just went back to lameness. Yeah. And then like you said, though, I thought the ending was it was fun. And I didn't actually see that happening. I thought they were going to take her out.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I was like, I couldn't remember how it ended. You know, so to end it on a cliffhanger, yeah.
It's very surprising, but a welcome surprise at that, because that means we get more John Wick. So what would you rate this film?
This one?
Yep.
Having now just shit all over it. No, I shouldn't say that because it still holds. Probably a 7.
Okay.
Just because it teeters between a 6 and a 7, and the only reason why it's like because that knife scene in the very beginning, the first 20 minutes are just fun as hell.
Yeah.
Like really fun. And then it gets into nonsensicalness. And I shouldn't say it like that. I think there's, like, now that I'm thinking about it, I definitely feel like there's got to be some sort of journey that they took, like you said, from, I mean, some maybe biblical or, the Pilgrim's fucking passage or whatever. I don't know. You know, like, I feel like there might be something there. But it lost me until actually, one other guy, too, that I liked, Halle Berry's lover, or whoever that guy was. I don't know what role he played, but I love that character.
Oh, yeah, the guy from Game of Thrones. I forget what his name is.
Is that who it was? His accent was fun. He had personality. He was kind of philosophical. And then you give me a dog.
Yeah.
Give me a dog as a gift and you shall live.
He was a colorful character that I enjoyed. Wish we got a little bit more of. You know?
Oh, yeah, in that one? Yeah, no, 100%. For how it was kind of getting to a little mindless. I was like, I really like this character. And
then, he stuck out.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's me. You? Did you have any final thoughts too before you get into your grade?
No. I didn't expect to, I guess, have as many issues with this as I did in this discussion.
We talked about this.
Yeah, I'm glad. But I will say that I think I will also rate this an 8 out of 10.
Oh.
Because I think visually it has a little more going for it than the second one.
Oh, yeah.
Just in terms of like cinematography and like set design. I really think it's like gorgeous. And also the action scenes, I think, elevate it for me enough to where like the issues I have, which I do have more issues with this movie than I do the previous two. I think the action scenes alone like just elevate it for me, because that knife fight and, like you said, the last like gunfight with the green lights in the hotel, it's really like push it up for me.
Yeah.
And so I give it an 8 out of 10.
It's funny because actually what the sword fight at the very end, it's probably what brings it like just a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, a step down.
Yeah. And it still 3 fantastic movies. I don't think you could go wrong with any 3 of them. And I think at any point you could probably throw it on. The third one would teeter for me, but that's just I'll say this: I watched a movie before that. Then I watched John Wick 3, and I watched 1 and 2, so I was kind of powering through all of this.
Yeah.
So I definitely think if you give it some time, or you're in that kind of the hunger, if you will, for John Wick, you could throw in the third one, and the action sequences aren't anything short. Actually, more creative and about the same. They're the same quality.
Yeah.
So I mean,
absolutely.
I don't need to. It's still that's where I sit at with it. So I don't want to defend myself a little bit for everyone that's maybe not agreeing.
They're getting their pitchforks ready.
Yeah.
So before we move on, I just want to give a quick shout out to Mac's friend Justin, who and I will also include a picture of this in the YouTube video version. He gave me, because it's like,
the pod. I mean,
for the pod,
but you're a big time John Wick fan.
I am. He gave me a steel case 4K collection of all 3 films that are out right now, and the cover and the inside of it are very visually pleasing to look at, and also the back too. For those who are only listening to audio, the cover is like a very psychedelic blue, purple, red, neon drenched image of Keanu Reeves in a suit holding a gun, and then the back of it is also the same sort of style, but him sitting on the couch with the dog that he has in the second and third movie. And thank you again, Justin, for giving that to us. That was very kind of you. I've never met you before, but I feel like I already love you. So
there's a big old podcast hug.
Yeah, you get a big old hug and a big old kiss from me. Mwah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah. No, Justin, we appreciate it, man. And, everyone else listening, you're no less to us.
Absolutely no less to us. It just means you got to step it up.
Oh yeah, let's get some.
That's our first piece of I guess mail for the podcast that we've gotten. Like something sent in to us.
We gotta find a place. We'll find a place in the pod world in here for to hang it up or to put it somewhere. At least get it on display just a little bit.
Right. So I figured we could end on a few questions.
Oh, we got a couple questions.
Oh, yeah. I alluded to this thing last episode.
Yep. You did, yeah.
That I had a series of questions from my friends that they texted me. And they're all thematically the same.
Okay.
And you're going to find out what exactly they are here in a second. Let me look them up real quick.
This is raw reaction.
Yeah. I'm just reading some of them, and they're fucking, oh my God. Okay. So, our first question comes from my friend Zach, my roommate.
Hey, shout out Zach, if you can hear us.
Did 9/11 still happen in the Stuart Little universe?
When did Stuart Little come out?
Let's look this up.
Now that one, because that's a question. Because 9/11 was 2001.
9/11 was 2001. Stuart Little came out in 1999.
See, so does Stuart have to go through the trauma with his parents of 9/11?
I'm assuming yes, right? Because then the second movie came out in 2002,
and they didn't address it. They did.
They don't address it, but I'm assuming just based on the fact that they're in the city flying around, they have to. Well, actually, are they even set in New York?
You know what? I'm gonna say no, just because Stuart Little is a talking rat. So I'm just gonna go out and say no.
He's a mouse, first of all.
Whoa!
We got to get the terminology right.
That might have been
second
sexist.
Of all, the boat race is the boat race that takes place in the first movie is in Central Park. So it is in New York.
Yeah.
So I imagine in the second one when they're flying, because in the second movie he's like flies around on the plane with like his bird friend or whatever.
Another talking animal.
Another talking animal.
Yeah,
I'm assuming they've had to have either edited out or like just not include the Twin Towers, right? Like
maybe.
I wonder if there's info on this.
I'm saying that there's no. I'm going out and saying that in that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. I looked up.
We can't have an answer for this.
I looked up production on Wikipedia for Stuart Little 2.
Right.
And it says filming began in New York City and Culver City, California around March 5th, 2001 and lasted until June of that year. After the September 11th attacks, scenes of the Twin Towers were digitally removed and certain scenes were reshot. So 9/11 happened in the Stuart Little universe.
I would say no.
I would say yes.
I'm going to say, well, one, how about this? Actually, you know how we could figure it out? If you watch Stuart Little 1 and you find the Twin Towers in Stuart Little 1 and they're not in Stuart Little 2, then that would be the proof that we need if it actually happened.
Oh, okay. Because we'll have to find this out.
Yeah, because I was about to say, Zach, when you watch Stuart Little next time, you got to keep an eye out for the Twin Towers.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
Because if they're not in there, I'm going to make the argument that in that universe they don't exist.
Okay.
You know?
Well, we'll have to watch the movie to find out. Mm-hmm. Our next question... Our next question comes from Lauren. Do you think they chose Stuart Little over an actual child because the lifespan is such shorter and they didn't want the commitment of an actual human child?
I read somewhere that Stuart Little was supposed to be 6 films, kind of spanning time like Boyhood. I can't remember who is the director of Stuart Little.
Are you being for real right now?
Yeah, it's on one of the wiki pages.
The first one was directed by Rob Minkoff.
Rob, yeah.
The second one was also directed by Rob Minkoff.
It's supposed to. It caught. Who the hell directed freaking Boyhood now? And
I'll look that up.
Yeah, it was. There's supposed to be 6 different features, and actually,
Richard Linklater.
Yeah, Linklater. Yeah, and they were supposed to actually CGI Michael J. Fox, but because he had early onset Parkinson's, they had to make him a rat.
Oh, okay.
Or a mice.
A meese.
Yeah.
They had to make him a meese. That's the plural.
No, I'm just fucking with you. They didn't make 6 of these things. No, actually, if I had to guess, they probably had Michael J. Fox, and because of Parkinson's, they decided to go with the CGI. Is Stuart Little like a book or a story?
Yeah, it was originally like a children's book. Yeah.
Oh, then no, they never were gonna go with it. It was always a talking rat mouse.
Talking rat mouse, a fucking small possum, just a little rat boy.
I like how we're getting more into
little pissy rat boy.
When he grows up, he's a fucking skunk.
Look at this fucking koala.
All right, Frank, come on.
All right, I gotta relook it up because every time I exit the app, it like sends me back to the. Because they sent this to me in Messenger, so I have to.
Oh, got it.
I have to research the word Stuart every time I want to find these questions because they're all fucking related.
God bless. I saw Stuart Little when it first came out.
All right. The next question comes from Zach again.
Okay.
This one's an easy one. Who would win in a fight, Stuart Little or the mouse from Ratatouille? Easy. The mouse from Ratatouille would fuck him up.
Oh, dude, street smart mouse.
Mm-hmm.
Stuart Little's pampered.
Yeah,
dude, he's a
Stuart
domestic
Little's,
mouse.
He's a little house bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Remy would beat the shit out of him because Remy lived on the streets. He knows the hard life.
Yeah, didn't he almost kill the chef in that thing?
Yeah,
like that's a human.
He's a fucking. He controls a whole human body.
Dude,
Stuart Little can barely control a car.
Yeah, I was about to say he couldn't even fend off the attackers in the first one, right?
Yeah, like he's on that boat and he like almost dies because the other kid with the other remote control boat's like, I'm gonna kill Stuart Little, and
oh my god, fucking sadism.
Yeah. So yeah, no, Stuart would get his ass beat.
100%. I mean,
100%.
I don't even think I've seen Ratatouille, and I know that.
Yeah, that's an easy question. The next one comes from Lauren again. Does Stuart fuck the bird from the second one? Yes or yes?
Oh.
Yes.
Wait, is it like I've never seen the second one. I think I got into middle school, it sounds like, when this came out. So I would have been in 7th grade when Stuart Little 2 got released. So I was a little too cool for it.
Right.
But, I mean, if there's a mouse fucking a bird in this thing, I might have missed out.
What happens in between scenes? Implied creativity, You can take from it how you will.
Yeah,
movies and how you interpret them are subjective.
Was the bird non-binary or was there?
No, the bird was clearly a girl.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Who did the voice of the bird? I'll look. Maybe I'll do.
I have quick access, so I can. Melanie Griffith was the voice of Margalo.
Oh man, that's such an ugly name. No, I don't think so, Lauren.
No,
you're not getting by that name.
Nah, I don't know. I'm an optimist. I think Stuart was clapping them feathers.
Ooh, damn.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but mice have I don't think it'd be compatible too. I mean,
do you know the anatomy of a mouse?
No, but birds, they hatch out of eggs.
Yeah.
Mice give live birth, so you have a difference.
I don't know. Stuart could hump anything, probably. Right?
You think so?
Probably.
I don't know. Was he ever wearing shorts? Is he totally frontal nude?
He he always has pants on. Like he always has like cargo pants, like these
such a
khakis.
Smart call on their end too, by the way, so they don't have to answer those questions.
Right. It's not like a Donald Duck situation where he's just butt ass naked from the bottom.
Right. And you're kind of wondering what's going on.
Yeah. Like is it inside that, like, does it come out?
Yeah. Tucked away. Is he doing a goat right now, or his Best Silence of the Lambs impersonation?
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna sound like hell for audio listeners. All right, last question.
Oh,
also from Lauren.
Okay,
it's Lauren and Zach basically carrying this whole.
I love it, dude. I've never talked about Stuart Little in all my life.
Same here, man. Does Stuart Little drive a remote-controlled car, or is it just a weird, fully functioning small car?
Oh, crossover from Honey, We Shrunk the Kids and Stuart Little. Now, if they live in that universe and Honey, We Shrunk the Kids, we could see the Twin Towers. We might definitively say if they were. I'm telling you.
We got to answer this question first before we circle back to 9/11.
Well, here's the thing. What I'm saying is, okay, Honey, We Shrunk the Kids Part 2, I believe they shrink machinery, or it's more than just the kids, right?
I have not seen that film, so I can't attest to it.
Well, I think they do. It's been a while since I've seen that one. I think they do. And if they do, you could almost make the argument that they shrunk a car for his size.
Like they like commercialize the technology that they used in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Absolutely.
And then Hugh Laurie and his wife or whatever in the movie bought it for Stuart Little.
Well, probably the commercial purposes of shrinking a fucking car don't make sense because there's no one that small. But they end up finding Rick Moranis.
I think,
and they buy a car.
I think it's more so they had a remote control car and they modified it so that Stuart Little could drive it. That's my answer.
Did the bird fit in the car?
Yeah.
Really?
The bird and the mouse were like the same size.
Dude, what?
Yeah, it's
Birds
like
aren't that small.
It was like a little tiny yellow bird. And
named Margaloo?
Margaloo.
God, that's such an ugly name. And I'm sorry for anyone listening.
Marilago.
Yeah.
Mary Glue.
Yeah.
But no, they were like the same size, so she would have fit in the car. And I think she does in Stuart Little 2 at some point.
Really? Well, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, if he drove, I wonder if he ever copped the feel.
Probably. Answer that last question. So yeah, realistically, I think it's a modified remote control car that he can drive on his own.
I'm going between.
That's fully functioning.
I'm going with my crossover answer, and I'm saying they shrunk a car.
Okay.
And the technology was available at that time.
Well, I respect your commitment.
I'm just saying. 100%. Well, we're talking about the twin. If the Twin Towers don't exist, that's a big time question.
We have to watch the movie to find out. We'll have to watch it to find out. Future recommendation one of these days.
Yours. I'm not burning mine on Stuart Little.
Oh, come on.
If we're doing that, if we do Stuart Little, we're also going to watch Mousetrap and The Borrowers.
Ooh, the Holy Trilogy, what I like to call
it. Yep. Yep.
All right. So
that's what's proposed to be in the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of recommending something.
Oh,
you get to do a film pick.
So, and I'm sure, obviously, we'll come up with some more content for what we'll do in 2 weeks from now. Maybe some more Oscar talk or whatever. I mean, we'll fill it in with the juice.
Right.
But top 5 movie of mine, I don't think you've seen. And if you have, that'd be awesome. But if you haven't, even awesome. Because I haven't watched this movie, I think, in about 4 years now.
Ooh.
So we are going to watch, and this is actually a good one too for everyone in the audience to check out, especially someone related to me. Big Trouble in Little China.
Awesome. So, I know nothing about this movie.
You've never seen it?
I've only heard the title, and that's it.
Awesome.
So I'm excited.
Yes.
I was going through the website and I was updating a few things a little bit. And on our About page, I wanted to include some of our top 5 favorite movies because if people go through it and see it, I wanted them to like kind of get a taste of like what our tastes are.
Yeah.
And I messaged you and I was like, hey, give me your top 5 favorite movies so I could put them on the website. And I noticed that Big Trouble in Little China was one of them.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, interesting. And, fresh off me including it on the website, you are recommending it to me now. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, like when you asked for that and I was like, I was thinking about it, I was like, what do I want to watch now? I mean, we had some of your favorite films on there, and I was like, I kind of want to do something that's maybe not fresh, but, you haven't seen. Mm-hmm. And it's one of my favorite. I mean, we'll see where it gets to. I hold it near and dear to my heart, but it's we'll talk about it when we talk about it. So, yeah, I'm excited for you to see it and hearing your thoughts on it. And it's probably at this point 40 years 35 to 40 years old, which to me...
Excellent. I need to watch more older films, too, which is why I'm glad that you're recommending that, because...
It's my childhood films. What my dad forced us to watch.
Well, I need to expand my my library anyway when it comes to older movies, so...
For sure.
I'm glad that you are here for that.
About it.
Yeah.
Then talk about Stuart Little fucking a bird. All
yep. Right. We give you the content on here.
I actually do love those universal questions.
Yes, me too. Yeah, more questions to come, I'm sure.
Oh, I love, yeah.
So yeah, if you don't want to be spoiled for Big Trouble in Little China, be sure to watch that before episode 15. Which will come out 2 weeks from now.
Awesome.
You can find us at YouTube if you search the Neon Crew Podcast. You can also find us on Spotify with the same exact thing. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah, holding by a thread on Twitter.
It's okay. We're still there. Look us up. All 15 of you following us.
Hey.
Maybe we'll get 16.
Hey.
So yeah, thank you everybody for listening. Appreciate you. Love you guys. Thank you again, Justin, for the steel case. It will go somewhere very in eye shot and respectable to where I can look at it every day and think of how wonderful of a person you are, even though I've never met you.
I can vouch.
Awesome. Any parting words, McClain?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
What are those words?
Well, I was just thinking not too long ago. WWTHD, brother.
Bye, everyone.